Hey guys, check this out. I am officially now sponsored by Dubby. Dubby is a clean energy drink made to give you focus with no crash. If you guys are like me, you're always needing a burst of energy, especially with one with no crash. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. It keeps me awake with no jitters, guys. Check it out. Merch link is in the bio. Dubby.
Are you ready?
Power. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
I'm building an alliance.
God bless the internet.
Okay.
Let's party. It's showtime.
It's time for the Alliance Guys podcast with your hosts Kevin Frazier, Jaden, DKM, and J. Cal.
Oh, yeah, of course. I can never get this damn entrance right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Alliance Guys podcast, a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. My name is J. Cal, and the gentleman next to me is DKM, and the man now in the middle is Jaden, who wants you to know that he's a GOAT. What's up, GOAT boy?
Not bad.
I love it. Awesome. DK, how are you doing, my friend?
I showed up.
You did show up. Show up and show out. That's what I say every single time. Hey, you guys might have heard in the beginning of the show, we have a new sponsor. This is the first time we have a sponsor, Dubby. Dubby is a very it's a jitterless energy drink. DK hasn't tried it yet. I know Jaden hasn't tried it yet. But I got it just today. I have the Beach and Peach blend. It's actually really good. And I had some earlier this morning. I had some before the show. I don't feel jittery like I do normally with like the energy drinks I've had in the past. You guys see me all the time on the show drinking energy drinks, and this comes out to like $1 a day. If you're interested, the link is in the merch in the bio. Check it out. If you're interested, that'd be great. Jaden, my friend, how are you today?
I could use some W right now, especially if we're going to be talking about the NWA.
Awesome. That was good. That was good. I don't care what DKM says. That was good.
DKM just mad he didn't think of it first.
Also, guys, we do have a merch store. We have mugs like this one. And I do appreciate when you guys have been sending me like in DMs and stuff that you picked up a mug. I do appreciate that. It really does help minimize our cost for producing the podcast. Also, we have hats available, although this isn't the hat. The hat looks more like something like this one. And then, of course, you can see the Alliance blog t-shirt. And we have more t-shirts coming each and every week. If you need to get your Alliance blog fit, go to our merch store. That's also in the link. Look at that. Look at that, guys. That's corporate sponsorship right there.
I think DK needs a new mug.
And for those who are asking, no, I'm still drinking sparkling ice. This is my favorite carbonated beverage, 0 sugar. But every now and then I need some caffeine to pick me up, especially when you're doing podcasts. DKM's drinking Sprite. Jaden, what are you drinking tonight?
Tequila.
Dun, 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 dun.
Some of us are jealous.
Take some of your drink, put it in your cup, and then throw some W in there and drink it together.
Yeah, that might work. If you're so inclined, you could always, put some Malibu in it. That might work too. Don't ask me why there's Malibu in the studio. What I do on my time is my business, gentlemen.
Nobody asked.
Having to deal with us, I'm surprised you're not drinking more.
Yeah. So I'm also on TikTok Live right now too. And somebody just asked me in the chat, they said, "Hey, what's up? Does anyone say that you kind of look like Kevin Owens from the WWE a bit?"
Is that the WWE?
Yeah, the WWE. Yeah, you're on it today, man. Jaden, God. That's why you're on the show, man. I appreciate you. I do.
Send me some more tequila then.
Yeah, let's go. All right, so let's. I just want to say hi to our friends that are in the chat. James Bell is here. Media M5 is here. Oh, by the way, guys, I didn't mention it earlier. Real quick, I'm sorry, and I'll stop talking about W in just a second. But if you do make an order using the link that's in the bio, you do get 10% off. So if you want to try it, there's an opportunity to do so. James H. Jackson is in the house. Luthez is here. Diggs, I don't think I've seen you on here before, but welcome, man. Glad you're here.
Hope he digs the show.
Willie Bowen's in the house. What's up, Willie? I'm sure he's going to have a Tyrus joke for us later. And yeah, a lot of good times tonight, gentlemen.
I'll wait till you stop drinking so I can say something.
Say it.
I wonder if his Tyrus joke will be talking about his WDs.
I hope not, man.
Speaking of corporate sponsorships, can you get one for Patron?
That would be great. I know DK doesn't really partake in the alcohol too often, but yeah, Patron. You know what? I would like a nice whiskey. If anyone's out there and wants to sponsor the show with a nice whiskey, just
or better yet, Jack Daniels.
I mean, Jack Daniels. That's fine.
He did say a nice whiskey, didn't he?
Right. So I figured he meant like, Crown Royal or something like that. I was wanting like, maybe Gentleman Jack if you really had to, but
here's
I
the
want
thing.
good old number 7.
Here's the thing. If somebody out there in the world of advertising finds our podcast and decides that we are a good fit for them, they can message me. And sometimes if it's just a product for us talking about it, I'd be happy to do so. My only thing is I won't promote a product that I don't actually use and enjoy. I bought this like a week ago, and I tried it today. And if I would have hated it, you wouldn't hear me talking about it tonight. That's 100% truth. If I did not like it, I would not endorse it. I'll never endorse something that I don't want or that I think is not a good product.
So why are you talking about the NWA?
Ooh, shit.
Damn. That one.
Damn.
You set yourself up for that one.
Woo! Good night, folks. That's a podcast. Wow. I mean, you're not wrong, Jaden, but damn. We okay, look, and I've said this since day one of this podcast, even before the Lightning One era. We're always going to talk about the things that we like and dislike about the NWA, and we've stayed true to that. And even though that the direction of the podcast might seem more negative, it's honestly, we're just talking about the things we like and don't like. There just happens to be a few more things we dislike these days than it was in the past. But every episode I go into an NWA Power, I go into it with a fresh set of eyes. I'm hoping to see a better product. And I'll be honest, I really feel like this week's episode was a hell of a lot stronger than last week's episode, by and far, hugely.
Bigly. With a fresh set of eyes, because each week they destroy the ones you're currently have. You have to get a fresh set in order to see anything.
Lutha says NWA sucks pop. James H. Jackson says I was watching some classic episodes earlier of WCW. We don't love Billy Corgan as NWA owner. Chris, I think, like he said. Medium 5 calls us the real NWA discussion. And James Bell is with you, DK. That Jack Daniels single barrel high proof is awesome.
There's a Jack Daniels Honey Gold that's also really good.
I've heard that they have this apple crisp one, and I'm curious to try it. I don't know what it would. I mean, obviously it's going to have some sort of apple taste to it, but that one sounds very interesting to me. And last time I was in Nashville, my wife and I were talking about going down to the distillery, down to the Jack Daniels distillery, but we didn't have time for it.
Why don't you just have an appletini with Christopher Daniels and Kassarian and the Peacock guy? Apple crisp whiskey. What kind of?
I did show you that, like, the rum of choice in my household is Malibu pineapple rum, right? I'm not getting paid for this one. I just really like it.
What's it taste like with Dubby?
I'll let you know next week. I don't want to drink on the air. That's not.
Why not? I am.
Yeah, but no one can see you do it.
He'd probably be demonetized. Ties.
Did you see what Luthez said about the NWA? NWA is that drug-addicted uncle you still love but don't trust with your money anymore.
There's some truth into that statement.
But the sad thing is I'm still trusting him with my money because I re-up my cert. Well, I guess I haven't re-upped yet. I guess it doesn't re-up until a few more months. But yeah, I'm still paying for it.
We're all paying for it.
Man, do we pay for it.
Hey, we'll get to the show in a little bit, but there's somebody I want to talk about today.
I figure out why Billy would not come on the show for an interview.
Oh, he'll never be on the show.
Yeah, I know. Can't imagine why.
I'm finding it increasingly difficult to book just NWA guest period anymore. I think Jeremiah Plunkett might have been the last one. We'll see.
Well, I hear that there might be somebody fixing to work for Dog pretty soon. Maybe that'll change it.
I put a feeler. Well, not a feeler. I just said, hey, to a certain fixer out there. I asked him if he wanted to come on, but no response. I tweeted at Ella Envy and told her that I was a big fan. No response. So I don't think I'm very good at booking guests. But if you guys have any inroads into the NWA and someone you want us to talk to, or just me, either way, let me know. I'd be happy to do that. Chris Drummond asks a very appropriate question, and that's something else I want to talk about tonight. But is the NWA All Access still a thing now that Fight Plus exists?
I don't. As far as I know,
we don't have an answer for you, Chris, and I don't, Jane. I don't know if you know what Chris is talking about, but Fight Plus is now going to be streaming for $4.99 a month, same cost as the NWA Access for a monthly price. Everything from GCW that gets produced, anything that's new, plus anything that from the past, anything from Black Label Pro. There's a few other wrestling promotions. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but in total, there's going to be about 8 of them from what I understand. And it'll be all included with your subscription cost of basically $5 a month. The same price you're paying for the NWA if you're not doing the premium all access plan.
My guess is they'll keep the NWA separate because they throw in the pay-per-views.
Well, GCW would be offering their pay-per-views as part of that package as well. I mean,
they might be, but it wouldn't be to the NWA's advantage.
Well, the only thing I can think of, you got to remember, Triller has deep pockets. Triller is the parent company of Fight, and they're the ones that have been producing a lot of the celebrity boxing, celebrity MMA matches, and they do gangbusters on those. They get huge buy rates. That's how Triller was able to afford to buy Fight based on that money that they're making. Plus, they have an app that's very similar to TikTok, where they do short videos, short content videos, and I'm not sure where all this money's coming from. I mean, maybe they have ties to the mob, who knows? But they are literally, a lot of people were worried that Fight was losing content providers, and they just brought in like 4 more in the last month, all to be part of this Fight Plus. Jaden, what do you think of that? As someone who works very closely with an independent wrestling company, how do you feel about a collective of promotions working under a pay-per-view source? Do you think that's good or bad for the industry?
Depends on the product, honestly. If you put a bunch of good product around that multiple people can try to, one promotion might get you in, but then you stay and watch more. You have to find a way to hook them. But if you can do such a thing, that's good for the industry, I would assume. Anytime good wrestling can be seen anywhere, an eyeball can see it, like going to the Dog's YouTube page, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, is always a good thing. Unfortunately, I don't know if it's always the same for watching bad wrestling.
That's fair.
Well, even worse when there's a mix.
Well, and so what our pal Chris just pointed out is GCW and AIW are the biggest names so far. And again, I mentioned Black Label Pro because I think Black Label Pro was responsible for producing like Zicky Dice. And I think it's actually owned or partially owned by Seth Rollins of the WWE. So, and then I know that they just, oh God, what's his name? The guy from Impact who bashed, what's his name in the face with a baseball bat?
Sami Callihan?
Thank you. Sami Callihan's promotion recently signed with them as well. So, I mean, it's a mixed bag. It's not just straight up pro wrestling. There's varying different styles of wrestling that are available. You know, some people really enjoy the game changer style of wrestling, the hardcore style of wrestling. I find myself not to be so interested in that. I mean, just my personal point of view, but I know it is popular with a lot of folks who are watching wrestling these days. I mean, what
a lot of people like getting their nuts stepped on too. Doesn't mean it's something that I would enjoy.
Fair enough, and I'm not saying that that's something that anyone needs to do, but I mean, the question I guess it brings up is that good for independent wrestling where there's one, a place for them to make money, and two, is it good for the fans to have access to all that content? I mean, I guess that answers myself.
Well, I mean, where the real question comes in is, you know, how much money are they really making? You know, because like with Chris is saying, well, if you're not getting the NWA as part of that Fight Plus, and that's what you're interested in seeing. I mean, you didn't list one promotion I would care about.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get Fight Plus no matter what. So then the question becomes, you know, if there's 8 promotions and it's, you know, and it's $5 a month, well then, you know, by the time Fight takes its share, how much is each promotion really getting off any of those things? And do those promotions have enough people to make it worthwhile?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, so I guess like when you break it down, right, there's always that cost of a return on investment, that ROI. Any business person will tell you, like, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense. And if Triller is just paying these companies for their content straight out and recouping whatever they spend on the back end through the pay-per-view subscription service, I mean, I could see. So it's kind of hard to explain this, right? But in a business standpoint, if Triller, the parent company, starts taking huge losses from Fight, those are all tax deductions. Those are all write-offs. And so if they're paying X amount of dollars for content and GCW's happy and Black Label Pro is happy, and who else did we see on there?
Well, you know, something's only a write-off to a point.
Well, you get about 5 years.
You get about 5 years, and ultimately, especially if you're looking for investors or trying to get debt, you know, issues, any type of debt or anything like that, and that's even going to a bank and borrowing money for a thing. They don't give a shit about a tax write-off. They're going to be looking, going, well, you're losing money on this thing here.
Sure.
And so, you know, a lot of people will point that. They go, oh, well, you know, it's a tax write-off. You know, tax write-offs are meant for either a startup, end of days. You know, we're getting ready to get rid of this. But as an ongoing business model, nobody sets up to lose money ongoing so they can write it off on their taxes. They would rather make money and pay the tax.
As a business owner myself, yes, 100%. I've had some investments go awry, and I'd rather have just made the money and pay taxes on it than take losses and try to write off losses. But at the same time, with what Triller and Fight are doing, if they can collect enough eyeballs and really build this up again, maybe they have a 5-year mission plan. Like, I don't know for sure, and it's not like it's a publicly traded company, so we don't know any of this stuff. But if
they have a 20-year mission plan,
well, I mean, yeah, we know some people do. But if that ever comes to fruition, right? If we look at the, for example, if let's just stick with Game Changer, because I've heard they do really good business. If they're making $100,000 a year, which who knows, right? Maybe Fight's paying them that $100,000, or maybe they're paying them a little bit more than that to get to the exclusivity. And now you're getting all those Game Changer fans to come to Fight. Now they're investing in Fight for $5.99 a month instead of buying monthly pay-per-views. And then they're getting access to more content. And then they're paying the other channels based on, an agreement that they come to. That $5.99 right now, or $4.99 right now, might not sound like that much, but if they get 100,000 subscribers at that amount, that starts making a lot of sense. Of course, this is all, I don't have numbers in front of me. This is just, kind of talking out of my ass, really. But I could see where.
Okay, well, that's high numbers compared to what I hear most things are going for on Fight. So,
Hey, our good friend Poyo's in the house. What's up, Poyo? How you doing?
Hello.
So, Jaden, as someone who's in the industry, like, again, I lean on you because you have ties to Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. If someone were to come to you and say, "Hey, you Jaden, or your boss, Dr. Lawrence Draconium, if we could buy your content and be exclusive to whatever services out there, would that be something you would listen to? Is it something you'd be interested in?"
You should always listen to any kind of business offer, but it really has to make sense on your product. If things change and you have to change your core of what you are to make them happy, then you have to decide whether that's worth the money they're paying also.
Yeah.
It's sometimes when you put yourself out there to get more eyeballs, you can't stay true to what you are. So then you got to start bringing in or compromising your principles and what you're trying to accomplish to justify that. And also, it's a good business model they may buy it once, but you have to want them to buy it again, because then you want to see that revenue either grow or at least stay consistent, so they could use that revenue to improve whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and I kind of think back to when, if you guys remember back when Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, for a brief time, was on that CW. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like the nationwide feed, and it would be like I don't know exactly how you would even access it, but it basically put Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in like I think like 2 more million houses or something like that, some sort of ridiculous number. And and when they did that, then they started using Jake Hager. They started using El Patron, and that's actually when Nick Aldis kind of showed up too. They kind of beefed up that roster real quick when they were in those homes. I don't think the deal lasted for very long. I think it was called the CW Seed or something like that. But anyway, I hear what you're saying, Jaden, and we've seen examples of that in the industry where it has kind of come and gone. So with that being said, like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. And again, none of these numbers are public. We just hear like the news, oh, so-and-so signed. Well, we don't know what they're signing for. We don't know what they're getting or what kind of percentage they're making from these deals. Now, if Fight comes to the NWA and says, hey, we want to include you in this package, and the NWA doesn't take any less money than they're already receiving, I don't see it as a bad thing at all. That is, unless, they say, hey, you're going to take a pay cut, but we're going to throw you in with all these other promotions. I think that would be a really good thing for the NWA, for one. Potentially more eyeballs would view the product. Right, DK?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know that it would.
What do you think, Jaden?
If they cared about eyeballs, they would have stayed on YouTube.
Well, and that's kind of my point. They're on YouTube. So, I mean, I don't, you have a chance to see them if you want to. I don't know how many more people would actually, okay, GCW's here, so NWA. I mean, few, sure. I mean, there'll always be a few. Any significant amount, I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm not saying it wouldn't, but I certainly don't think it's a given.
Yeah, there's no slam dunks in any of this, right? There's none. There's no guarantees. But I would imagine, that's the other thing too. It's like when they first signed with Fight, it was an exclusive deal where they weren't supposed to be back on YouTube. And then about a year into it, they're like, okay, we're coming back to YouTube. And it's like, all right, okay. It's just still, I'm kind of confused about the whole thing.
Yeah, but at least the NWA POWERRR is secondhand. The first hand on Fight, you get to see it first.
Yeah, that's true.
And honestly, I think the only reason they are on YouTube is just as a publicity. It's the way that people know about Power.
And I think you're right, and I think that's probably a smart move that they do. And again, I don't know how much. I haven't paid enough attention to see the numbers on YouTube. But remember when Power first kicked off that first season, they were doing like 180,000 views an episode. Now we don't know exactly what that constitutes as how many views that actually was, but it was still a starking huge number, just a very big number for this little independent promotion that could. And those numbers started to drop off week after week, but still towards the end, they were still doing like 160,000, 150,000. And I would venture to guess if you went to their YouTube channel right now, those numbers aren't quite the same.
YouTube numbers aren't quite as important, though, as the amount of minutes watched.
Right.
You could have 9,000 people watching for 1 minute, but it's if you have 2,000 people watching for the entire thing, it all helps and all matters, but it's, it still matters. If I remember correctly, it remembers more how long somebody's watching than what they're watching. For
sure. And it's also like other engagement too, like how much did they watch? How long did they watch? And for example, if someone watches this video all the way through, it's not like I made a penny, right? But if everyone who's watching this video stays through the whole thing, doesn't leave, watches the entire video, we tend to make a little bit more money per video. It shows right now that we have on YouTube right now, it shows that there's 9 people watching at this specific moment. And that's great. But, in the replays, we'll have maybe close to 60, 70 people who've watched this video in total. And, that's like a couple cents here, a couple cents there. It's not a ton of money. But it's all based on how much is watched, just like Jaden said, how much is digested, how much is actually eat. And then Boyle's bringing out some knowledge here, so I'm going to pull that up too. She said that's largely about how much you get paid, and it boosts your algorithm. And that's true. And I noticed the more content that we produce, because we're doing like three shows now a week here on YouTube and Twitch, and basically that those shows between an hour to 2 hours each week, and the algorithm starts showing those videos to more people. The more people that watch, the more people that like, the more people that interact with it, leave comments. Hey guys, leave comments. The more that they leave comments in the chat, the more you guys talk in the chat, it starts getting a bigger audience. It helps grow the channel. Same thing with the NWA. I think that's why they do those live video chats on Fridays and on Saturday mornings, because the more people who interact with that product, it starts getting seen by more people.
As for the money made, my friend Audra, she has a band, and you can listen to her band on YouTube. You can listen to her band on Spotify. You could buy the music, but it takes I think she told me something like 12,000 Spotify listens to equal one buying of a song.
Yeah.
So it's great to have all that out there and all that, but it's really, the reality is you have to try to turn that into a better business model. For the NWA, it would be T-shirts, it would be pay-per-view buys, it would be live attendance tickets and stuff like that. The TV is more of a loss leader than say the actual. It's goal to make more money elsewhere. It's nice to make that, and it's nice to get it out there. But it's nicer when somebody buys a T-shirt or a mug or some dubby.
Yeah, I mean, look, and that's partially the reason why we sell merchandise. One, because people have asked for it, but two, that's a direct. You're actually putting money back into our pockets. It's helping to pay for production. It's every time you buy a hat or a T-shirt or a coffee mug, that's helping this podcast grow. It's helping pay for the cost of using Streamlabs and StreamYard to produce content for you guys. So, I mean, that's kind of, yeah, we make our money there. We're not making money on Spotify with the podcast. I mean, we are a little bit. Don't get me wrong. The audio portion of this goes to Anchor and then gets syndicated out to all the podcasting networks out there. And we make a little bit of money there. And then the show on YouTube makes a little bit of money on YouTube. But not, I mean, if one person buys a shirt every month, it's making that shirt sell produces more profit than it's generated by YouTube or by Spotify at this point.
Sure.
And at this point,
WWE, I mean, they push merchandise all the time.
Yeah, and I think that's why you get those Danny Deals spot on those NWA shows, because the more people that are buying those T-shirts are that's what's really paying the back end of the NWA. The live events, sure, they're making good money on those ticket sales. I mean,
now if it was CJ out there hawking the stuff, I'd probably buy more of it.
Hey, Poyo, if you know anybody, have
Poyo was out there hawking the stuff, I'd probably buy more of it. But
well, yeah, I mean, look, Danny Deals isn't my favorite guy, but some of those designs are actually pretty cool. I don't know if he actually comes up with those or if that's just part of the gimmick. But
if I can be completely honest here, when it comes to the hockey and the merchandise, I don't actually have a problem with Danny Deals. That fits his character, Danny Deals. You know,
same.
It's out there getting you deals. Candy's a cutie, but I don't know. There's just something about her that doesn't hit right, and so I'd probably rather see Poyo or CJ or anyone else.
Hey,
by himself.
I just want to point out, I've never seen MV.
But she is a cutie. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's I don't think she's attractive or anything like that. She's a cutie, but I don't know why, but maybe it's watching her with the pom poms. I don't know.
Welcome to DKM After Dark right now.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm single. I told you. I gotta talk about the girls now.
Real quick. We have a new viewer in the chat, MV Hitman, who I think for some reason I think Poyo might have brought him into the show, or them. I don't want to assume genders here, but MV Hitman, thanks for being here, man. Please, if you know the NWA, then you're welcome here to join our chat each and every Thursdays. This time 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. We usually go about 2 hours. We talk NWA. And for anyone else who's watching the show for the first time, thank you for being here. We do appreciate you guys. This is what we do. We have fun talking about the NWA and wrestling in general, but mostly the NWA. And we'll get to Power here in just a minute. And Poyo says that I met Hitman on the NWA broadcast, and I'm pretty sure he hated me at first. Sorry, but you're welcome here too, Hitman. And he says he wants to know more about Candy. Yeah, I think so does DKM. I think he wants to know more about Candy as well.
Like to see single.
Poyo said if you only knew about Candy. Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Spill some tea, please.
Luthes says the NWA merch just has appealed to me in a while now, but he needs a Scion mask hoodie. I think, you know what I really like in the NWA merch store? Then I'll say it. There's two of them that I really like. One of them is that black and white NWA shirt that has the star on it. It kind of reminds me of Smashing Pumpkins type logo, but I think it's pretty cool. And then the other one is the NWA. It's not rocket science, because I don't know how many times on this show we said, hey, Billy, the booking's not rocket science. Keep it simple. And it's like, I feel like they made that shirt for us, honestly.
Sure, why not?
James, our pal James, says the problem that's the problem with these indies that are banking on more eyeballs going to their websites to buy merch. Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to get out there. You have to promote your merchandise. And, you know, for a long time, I was kind of reluctant to do so. It was actually guys like James who encouraged me to, hey, I like your podcast, make more shirts. I'm like, oh, all right, I'll do it. And, you know, if you guys like the merchandise, feel free to buy it. If you have any ideas for merchandise, I'd be happy to hear them, because you know, if you like this podcast, I want to represent it. That's awesome, and that's such a huge compliment to the three of us and the other guys on the other guys alliance, the other alliance guys. Let me try that again. But with that being said, you know, we're here just to talk wrestling. If you never want
other alliance guys,
yeah, the other ones.
What do the other ones talk about when they're on?
You know, they actually have a more formatted show than we do. And they've been doing it a lot less time, but I do appreciate it. And when they're doing their podcast, they will talk.
Oh, we're better than they are, right?
I mean,
because we can just fly by the seat of our pants.
Yeah. Well, look. I respect the hell out of Tim, Jeremy, and Dave Scooby. Their show is a lot of fun. I listen to it every Wednesday on the way home from work. I throw on YouTube and listen to it in the car. And, you know, what they're talking about is they go into a deep dive on Saturdays like we do on Thursdays about Power. They do it about USA. Then they talk about what's happening in United Wrestling Network, including Memphis and Championship Wrestling. Then they do some fantasy booking. And all in all, it's just a fun show. They try to keep it upbeat, but they, you know, just like us, when it's negative, they say it. And they when they like it, they like it. And I respect the heck out of those guys. And I'm happy that they represent us.
And hopefully I won't die during the show.
Please don't die. And Rick, we got
look at the ratings.
Shit. I think
that's live on YouTube.
They'd probably make me take it down, but I'll save the video and put it up on those other video streaming sites.
Yeah, anywhere you can make money. They have autographed Tommy Rich photographs.
Who does?
The NWA website.
Well, he was at the 74th anniversary show,
and they have autographed J.J. Dillon pictures.
He was also at the 74th anniversary show,
and they have autographed Barry Windham pictures.
He also was at the 74th anniversary show.
Only 9 left on J.J. Dillon. I don't know about the other 2. They don't say, but Tommy has the belt, so that's kind of cool.
I would have liked to have been at the 74th anniversary just for the fact that I could have gotten 2 more signatures on that 10 pounds of gold that I have.
Which would be better? A Fixer shirt or an NWA with the star shirt?
Well, because we're trying to get a Fixer onto the show, I say the Fixers.
I can call Vinny.
You know what? We need to have him on the show too. Maybe closer to March of next year, we could have him on. And Poyo said she's wearing the star shirt right now.
He plug.
Yeah, of course. That's what we do.
No, it's $25. It's not that cheap, but you know, there is the orange one, but you know, Halloween just passed. So, are they going to have a red and green one for Christmas?
Perhaps. Hey, Poyo, if you reach out to Wrecking Ball, we would love to talk to him. Anybody from the NWA, we'd love to have on. Anybody. No, what?
Our insanities were very nice and respectful to anybody we talked to.
Well, you know, and we're nice to people that we like too. But like, that sounded really bad. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
DK is right. We're very respectful to anybody we talk to, but you know, I think the professional courtesy, if anyone comes on the show, we will give them that professional courtesy, even if we don't like them.
I want to see what this T for 2 is going on right now.
I'm putting up the messages as Poyle says them. She says, did you see the tea I spilled on Candy? Candy is, and I'm not remotely kidding, a genius, literally.
Sorry, DK, you don't have a shot.
No. She's a genius. She's smart enough to avoid me.
Well, honestly, it doesn't surprise me. because, why wouldn't she be a genius?
Well, she's hanging out with Danny Deals. That would make you question it.
You know what though? He might be the nicest guy in the world. You don't know that. You don't know, man. You just know what he wants you to know, man.
He also might be the nicest guy in prison.
Exactly.
But he might be a Lothario as well. You don't know, man.
Hey, do any of you carry fanny packs?
No, should we? Oh, should we do that?
Well, I see a power fanny pack, so why shouldn't we have a fanny pack?
I think I could get us a. See, Poyo says Deals is awesome, and that's the same thing. Like, I have friends who go to a lot of the NWA shows, and we talk, and I've only heard good things about Danny Deals. I don't really know him. I just know I don't really gel with the character on TV, but that's also what he's trying to do. And then Poyo again reiterates, Candy is crazy smart. I will look into fanny packs for you, DKM, and hopefully if they can have them, maybe we will have them by the 70th or Hard Times 3.
I want Alliance Guys Zubaz.
I bought my wife an Alliance Guys bikini.
Is Poyo cool? Is Poyo at she's going to be there?
Did you get it half off?
At Hard Times, right?
After it gets delivered. I don't. Hey,
yeah,
Poyo,
is it left half to right half that's off?
It's top half.
Well, a lot of people do that.
I'm taking notes right now. I'm gonna start taking some notes. You guys keep talking. We got getting merch suggestions left and right, and your boy Jay likes to service the crowd. Travel mugs.
What about shaker cups that you could put your W in?
Yeah, that's a good one too. Shaker cups.
Should I get the yellow shirt or should I get a different color?
If you wear yellow, people will see you at night.
I don't want to see him in the day.
So let's not wear red. Let's not get the yellow. Because if I'm out at night, I probably don't want to be seen.
Hey, Poyo, if we sent you an Alliance blog bikini, would you wear it to a show? Just asking. Yeah, MV Hitman. I actually watched Poyo's show last week, I believe. I think it might have been after our show, and yeah, it's a great show. It's Poyo's alter ego breaking down some of the old school wrestling, and I had a blast watching it. I couldn't stay for all of it.
Put the link in the chat.
Yeah, well, I think it's just Poyo. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm gonna try to write it here, and you can tell us if we're right or not. Poyo LR. I think that's it. We just lost Jaden. It's probably for the best.
Trying to lose him for how many years now?
It never works. Yeah, so it's just at twitch.com/PoyoDelmar. Poyo, do you go on at 7? Is that what time you go on? Or excuse me, Eastern time. I guess that'd be 10 o'clock Eastern. And I think I'm gonna do that, Poyo. I'm already sending you something. I'm gonna see if I can find one. And we'll talk offline. That would be awesome. That'd be great. Oh, okay. Usually 8, but sometimes 7. Okay, so when you guys get bored with us, you can go over to Poyo's channel on twitch.tv/PoyoDelmar. Like I said, it's a fun show, classic wrestling. They really do break it down, and a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. See, you guys are full of plugs tonight. We haven't even talked about Power yet. And I wanted to talk about Flip Gordon, too. James says, don't forget to check out Poyo and the Popes podcast on Saturday morning. Yeah, I mean, that's got to be fun. Poyo says they're watching USWA from 1991.
Ooh.
That's fun stuff right there, right? That's
an interesting time frame.
I'm thinking Owen Hart was there at that point in 91.
I'm too old. Everything blurs together for me now.
Yeah.
You don't have to agree with that.
No, it's me too, man. I mean, I was a kid in 91. Like, I started junior high like in 92.
Shut up.
You were already a grown-ass man in 92, weren't you?
Married 3 years.
Oh, no. I love you, man. This has been
I'm not so sure anymore.
No, I do. That's a thing.
All right.
Okay, Rick says that might have been a year later. Yeah, we didn't get USWA where I lived. Growing up locally, I live in Southern California. You guys know that. So I would watch WWE on Saturdays and Sundays, unless it was on the Saturday night's main event on NBC. Then we would have Glow Wrestling on Channel 13, which was an independent. Usually like about 2 hours after WWE programming Saturday mornings. And then, TBS, if you had TBS, you were able to see Saturday night's main event, or not Saturday nights. Yeah, that's it, right? No, what was it called? Just Saturday night, right? World Championship Wrestling Saturday night. Anyways, whatever. I didn't get I didn't get USWA. I would get Global on ESPN, and before that, we'd have AWA Classics on ESPN, and then, but we never got USWA. I did.
Yeah, 91 is when that was their last year in Dallas. They were out of Dallas by that summer.
I was watching Music City Wrestling like in 95, 96. We had that on a one of those weird UHF channels, and I got to see before he was NWA World Champion, the Colorado Kid, Mike Rapata. Oh, Rick just brought up California Championship Wrestling. That was the absolute dog shittest wrestling there ever was.
Was that the car lot wrestling?
You say car lot?
Yeah.
No. That was something else. That was in the early 2000s. That was an NWA affiliate out here in SoCal. But the California Championship Wrestling was, I think it was Carl Lauer who promoted it. And it was just really like, it was post Grand Olympic Auditorium Wrestling. So it was a lot more indie. And they would show vignettes of wrestlers who never were coming to Southern California. They were not coming here to wrestle, but they would show vignettes like they were promoting them coming, and it was just really bad. It was like awful wrestling. It's the stuff that you would see in like early 90s indie wrestling. It was bad. And Rick says it was in a theater or something. Yeah. They had, it was a venue out in San Bernardino, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it was Carl Lauer's Promotions, and it wasn't good. And I've seen some of it. It's hard to watch because the quality is really bad, but it just wasn't good stuff. It was such a huge disconnect from what they were doing at the Grand Olympic Auditorium, where the wrestling was like, that was like on par with what the NWA was doing in the Omni, or what Vince was doing in Madison Square Garden. It was just a huge drop. Pollo, I don't think Pollo. I know it's not polite to ask a woman her age, so I would never ask you, Pollo, but I don't think you were around for California Championship Wrestling, because that was early 80s, and it was not early 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It was worse than what Herb Abrams' UWF was.
Is that possible?
No, yes, it is possible because I saw it. Wow, so we spent a lot of time not talking about the NWA, which is fun. And Pollo said, yeah, we'll get to the flip in just a second. I want to address what Pollo said. No, I was working a regional promotion in Northeast Ohio when I started a very long time ago. All right. I don't believe it, Pollo, because it's like, you don't look that old to me, and I'm not going to pass judgment here. And I'm not trying to say anything negative, of course, but I don't think you're that old. Rick says some of those guys went on to work for Herb. Yeah, I know. One of them, I think, was KGB, who would later become, what's his name? It's funny because I can't think of it, but I used to love this guy in UPW. In fact, he's married to WWE's Zoe Stark.
Oh.
Do you know who I'm talking about? Tom Howard. Tom Howard wrestled as KGB, had a few appearances in AAA, and then he was like a surfer gimmick for Herb Abrams. I believe he worked for the UWF, Herb Abrams, and I think he also worked for the CCW, California Championship Wrestling. And Hitman is enjoying his rice pudding with Nutella, cinnamon, and honey. So, all right, man. That's like a whole bowl of flavor right there. All right, so that's enough talking about SoCal wrestling and merchandising. I did want to spend some time talking about Flip Gordon, and I'm kind of sad that Jaden dropped off because Flip Gordon is a guy. Yeah, so I'm still here on the live chat on Twitch. Excuse me, on TikTok, and my friend over there, Putting You Over, who also has a show on Twitch.tv. He said, "What about Flip Gordon?" And that's a great way to lead into it. What about Flip Gordon? You know, I was thinking about this gentleman, Flip Gordon, who captivated many of our hearts while wrestling with Ring of Honor when he got the world title shot against Nick Aldis before Cody Rhodes did. Remember that? Flip before Cody? Yep. And that he was one of the stars of Ring of Honor again during the very hyped era of the Elite and the Bullet Club and all of that stuff. And in fact, Flip became a kind of one of the essential characters of being the Elite before AEW started. And Flip, Flip kind of like Marty Scurll, were two that did not jump to AEW when that opportunity happened and actually signed longer term contracts to stay with Ring of Honor. And after Ring of Honor closed their doors before reopening under Tony Khan's ownership, Flip was one of those guys that was pretty high on the roster. But then after Ring of Honor closed, he just kind of disappeared. He didn't show up in AEW like a lot of people expected. He didn't show up in Impact when there was an obvious demand for former Ring of Honor guys to fill in that Honor No More. And when you look at where Flip Gordon went, I mean, he basically began wrestling in Mexico for AAA, in Australia for the World Series of Wrestling, teaming with Brian Cage, and a whole bevy of matches in the Northeast, mostly in Connecticut for, I believe it's the NEW, Northeastern Wrestling. Or no, yeah. I think it's Northeastern Wrestling. Yeah. And, I always scratched my head about this. And DK, I mean, you tell me what you think. Because Flip Gordon is a guy who, man, he's super talented. He's probably one of the best American-based high flyers in this country. I think he's one of the better guys, period, wrestling today. And I don't quite understand what happened and why we didn't see him pop up somewhere else. Do you have any explanation?
Understanding, of course, that I have absolutely no behind-the-scenes knowledge of anything. I'm a little bit surprised. Flip Gordon was one of those guys who, depending on how he was being used, depending on whether I liked him or not.
Yeah.
I felt he was often misused and often pushed in the wrong way. But he was he had name value from ROH. He has skill. Not only is he a high flyer, but he has some technical skills on the match. He did some of the pure wrestling before he got kicked out of that on one of the bad storylines he was in. And I don't blame the wrestler for being in a bad storyline.
No, you can't.
At least not completely.
Right.
But I blame more the booker for booking bad stuff. But it would seem like somebody would be interested in him. He's not overly big, but he's a strong junior heavyweight. And then when you look at some of the people in Impact and AEW and all that, you would see, of course, Ring of Honor, their average champion was what, 200 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't very big guys.
I mean, it's that, and so how somebody has not picked him up to use him in a better way is beyond me. I would think And again, I don't know. To me, he's like Rhett Titus. How people don't jump on these guys and use them. And of course, I don't know. Did Rhett Titus sign with AEW? Does anyone remember?
I don't think he's officially signed yet. In fact, I'll see. I'll look it up right now.
I know a lot of the guys signed, but it's almost signed in a just
like a pay per appearance, right?
What?
Like pay per appearance.
Well, some are signed exclusively. My understanding is the Briscoes are signed exclusively.
Yeah, but they might be the only ones. No, he's still a freelancer according to Cage Match. If that,
Well, there were a few that were picked up. I mean, Dalton Castle, who recently wrestled on Dynamite, he's a per appearance guy, and he holds one of their titles.
I think he just actually got picked up after his AEW appearance.
He did it just recently because
it was recent. It definitely was recent
because it was after his appearance that they said that he was only only a freelancer and that he did not have a deal. But and again, I think some of these guys are just being picked up because I guess to keep them from wrestling elsewhere. I don't fully understand what's going on with some of them.
I think the whole deal is they just don't want to lose them, right? So a team like the Briscoes basically getting paid just to wait for the next show to happen. But that way they're keeping them out of Impact. They're keeping them off of the NWA, basically keeping them fresh for when Ring of Honor does come out. And that's the thing too, when Ring of Honor finally does land a TV deal, because that's what they're working for. They're trying to get a TV deal. They want those talents to seem fresh and exclusive, and they don't want to have to share them with the NWA or Impact or anything like that.
Well, yeah, but that's when you sign them, when you have the TV deal.
Yeah. Well, let's not joke ourselves. Tony Khan is certainly one of these guys that pulls the cart before the horse. I mean, that's just what he does.
Okay, cool. So they're now all elite, but so hopefully Castle will be used some in there. But yeah, I don't know why Flip has not been among them. I don't know if he's still holding out hope. Like we talked about, you don't always know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't always know who's talking to who and what's going on. So, I mean, he may not want to make any type of commitment to the NWA at this time. Same with Titus. They may still be hoping to get picked up on a AEW deal once they get a show for ROH, if they get a show for ROH and everything, and power to them. But
yeah,
man, it saddens me because there's certainly talent that the NWA could use, and especially in the junior heavyweight division, especially since both of them are such good technical guys, which is kind of the type of junior heavyweight they want to push, which is that's one of the old school things that Billy is doing. The junior heavyweight champion is in the old NWA pre-Crockett and stuff like that. He was a grinder wrestler.
Yeah.
He was a technical mat wrestler. So I would like to see more of it. That would
for sure.
That would be I would like to see more of it.
Yeah, same. And that'll kind of lead us into Power, but again, there's so many great talented wrestlers out there, and you touched on, a few names who we'd like to see in the NWA, specifically Rhett Titus. I mean, he's appeared quite a bit, but Rhett Titus has been such a good guy to show up, just to show up in the NWA in the role that he's had, and then you have like you look at the NWA as it is right now. And they're bringing in a guy like Flip Gordon, who I think it's late to the party, but man, the match that he had with Colby this past episode of Power, I think was one of the best matches of Power this entire season. Certainly one of my favorites. And I look at him as an asset, and the fact that nobody's really picked up on him and locked in on him, it's like, what's going on? Like, you've got a guy here who is multifaceted, very talented, maybe not the best promo guy, but it really doesn't have to be. If he's a babyface coming out there and saying, hey, Homicide, I don't like the way you're treating Ricky Morton, I'm going to fight you. You know, that's really all you need. Right? I mean, at least for me anyways. But this matchup that he had tonight with, or excuse me, on Tuesday night that he had with Colby Corino, like I said, was one of the better matches I've seen in a while. And that's going to bring us to our review, recap, regroup, preview, post-show, talk about the NWA Power Season 10, Episode 8. And, you know, I love when the show opens up in the ring. You have the
I think I lost you for a minute.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, everything seems to be working now, but I was blank there for a couple of minutes. I'm like, what's going on?
I thought maybe you had a stroke. I'm glad you're okay.
Well, again, you know, dying on screen and everything. Boost the ratings.
I'd rather you not die. I already bought your tickets for for Hard Times 3. You can't.
So you're thinking about yourself.
Very selfish.
Yeah, you can probably scalp them. Just don't get arrested.
Don't get arrested. So I love when they open up in the ring. There's no need to have an introduction. There's no music, you know, already. So the introductions tend to be pointless, especially when it's more well-known talent. Flip has wrestled several high-profile matches in the NWA. This isn't his debut. This isn't even the biggest match he's had. He's challenged again Nick Aldis twice for the 10 pounds of gold. Once at Hard Times, I think Hard Times #1. I believe he challenged Nick Aldis for the 10 pounds of gold. And he's had, again, the total of like 3 matches with Nick Aldis. Very high profile for the NWA. Gordon is one of the best high flyers, in my opinion, in the USA today. He's a rare talent from Ring of Honor that didn't land anywhere else, like we were just talking about. So seeing him in the NWA ring kind of makes my heart happy. And I like seeing a guy who hasn't been overexposed since departing from Ring of Honor, which makes him it feels like a special attraction for the NWA. I really wish they would sign him, I guess is what it amounts to. He when it comes to Flip, I think he would fit in either the junior heavyweight division, where, I mean, obviously I think that's where he would excel the most, but I could see him even being a contender for the TV title. I mean, remember how we had Matt Cross briefly in the NWA, and it seemed like he was always in the hunt for Pope's TV title, whether it be in the triple threat matches or actually getting an opportunity to wrestle Pope. So I think he'd fit in there too and be a lot of fun. Then you have,
I think he could cross over.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely one of those guys who can. And he's had enough matches with Nick Aldis that he's believable as you know, in that open weight division. But I think he would excel more in the junior heavyweight. It was weird to me to see Jamie Stanley. You know, I didn't know that he had become a manager for Colby Corino. And if you didn't watch last Saturday's NWA USA, you might have missed it too. But he's not just his manager, but he's also his chief branding officer, which I don't know what that means. I thought Jamie Stanley was a really good wrestler, and I'm wondering if maybe he got hurt, or if maybe he's just taking some time off to rest up some nagging injuries. But I was surprised to see him in this capacity.
I mean, they have been doing this for a little bit, setting it up.
I guess I missed it. I guess I didn't pay attention to that.
It may have been more on USA than here, than on Power. Flip's outstanding talent, and he would be evaluated. Yes, we agree.
Hitman says, I wouldn't mind seeing Flip as a junior champ. Hitman also said StreamYard thought it saw DK smile, so it froze.
That could be.
That might have been it. When Poyle brings out Flip as an outstanding talent, he would be evaluated. Oh, I already read that one. There's so much Flip can do with and for the NWA. He's a very versatile wrestler. So we're all pretty much in agreement that the NWA should try to use him as much as they can and try to, in my opinion, lock him up if they have the opportunity to. The match starts off fair enough. It got a little goofy during the portion of the match where Flip decided to show off his nip-up skills. I mean, it was okay at first, but then they kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I thought, all right. That's enough showboating for one match. Let's get to it.
Got a little silly, but I was able to appreciate it for what it was.
Yeah. Then Carino connected with that spear that they both seemed to just collapse through the ropes and onto the floor. I mean, I know that was the spot, but it looked like both men, it took a lot out of them, which I appreciate that. They call it high risk maneuvers for a reason. So I really thought that was kind of cool. Shortly after that, Colby and Flip exchange drop kicks. Then Carino distracted the referee so Stanley could drill. See what I did there? Flip Gordon with a foot to the face. Keep in mind that Stanley is an actual wrestler. He could be in that ring, but for whatever reason, Carino then had Gordon in like a pretzel submission hold. I don't even know what to call it. It looked pretty cool, but he couldn't get. He kept using the ropes for leverage. Finally, the referee saw it. He gave him like a 5 count, which again I appreciate that. I don't want the referee to quickly break up the hold. Count the wrestler. Like, show me that the rules are being in play here. He's got a 5 count. Let him use it. Then Colby connects with a swanton, but is only good for a 2 count. Then Flip connects with like that lariat bulldog maneuver. I'm not really sure what to call it, but he can't capitalize on it. Flip connects with an Asahi moonsault before hitting a Finley roll. And just as he's about to jump to the top rope, Colby pushes him down. And this was very smart wrestling on both guys' parts. I really enjoyed this match. Then you get Flip catching Colby on the top rope, and Flip hits like a Spanish fly belly to belly suplex type maneuver. Colby still manages to kick out, and that's what surprised me in this match is that Colby was able to kick out. Then Colby still Flip is able to kick out of like this exploder that Colby hits, and it's just this match is so fast paced. It's what I would call like an indie match, and I don't mean that to sound like insulting, but like this isn't like your traditional NWA match. Certainly not an opening match, and the match ends up coming to a finish when Colby connects with an avalanche Colby driver. Like I said, it's a real fun match, and I hope they can carry that momentum for the rest of the show. What did you think, DK?
Yeah, it was a really good match, and I enjoyed it. And it was mostly my type of match, my style of match, a lot of technical stuff. They did get into the high flying. It was plays this great storytelling in the match, I would agree. I think that it was a fairly clean win. I understand there was a little bit of distraction there at the end, but not really interference.
Yeah, I mean,
and so for me, it's one of those things of that you can logic yourself in wrestling and going, if you're wrestling a guy with a manager or something outside, you have to keep attention on the thing and not the manager. If the manager reaches up there and pushes you, then hopefully the referee will catch it and disqualify him. And so it's so in my book, it was, that's a logical thinking in wrestling.
Yeah.
And so in my book, it was basically a clean win for Colby, which of course I hate to see Flip take the loss, but they're building Colby here, and he's going to be facing the MLW National Openweight Champion, and so
that match might steal the pay-per-view. By the way,
it could. Any match that Davey's in has the potential of stealing.
Well, I mean, just from the last pay-per-view, Davey and Thrillbilly really had a hell of a match. And credit to Pollo, that match was really good. Pollo did her job, and Thrillbilly did his job. He made himself look damn good in that match. Of course, Davey Richards is a freaking professional, so it was going to be a good match no matter what. And now you've got Colby Carino coming off this big win off of Flip Gordon, challenging, lot of people don't remember Steve Corino was one of the founding fathers of the MLW. His group, the Extreme Horsemen, played a significant role in that company's early development, and I believe even Steve Corino had a feud with oh gosh, help me out on the name, Satoshi Kojima, over that MLW championship title. It's kind of funny because Corino was an NWA champion who became the MLW champion, and Kojima was an MLW champion who later became an NWA world champion, just kind of fitting there. So I don't know. I think I'm excited for that match, and I was really happy with the turnout of this match. And James Bell says that Stanley will be wrestling in Texas soon.
Texas,
James
big state. What part?
yeah. James says that one of my favorite indies is Texas style wrestling. And then our pal Scooby says Colby had to get a win before he faces Richards at Hard Time 3. I don't know that Flip Gordon is booked for Hard Times at all, but it'd be a shame if he isn't. But as we talk about it,
I don't even know what Colby was booked for, because I have a feeling this match with Richards probably came together after the tapings.
Yeah.
I'm going to give credit where credit's due. The NWA has done much better at seeing storylines develop and come through and get to a spot throughout this set of tapings than they normally do. Normally, by this time, we're either watching a power trip or we're watching kind of dead matches that were filmed out of nowhere. And so I wouldn't say it's been their best season as far as all the product they've put out.
No,
but I would say it's been their best season as far as we're going to take you from this pay-per-view, from the pay-per-view that we just had, to our next pay-per-view over the course of these tapings.
Yeah. And I also want to point out, too, something that I also appreciate is the storytelling for the matches. It took a while to get there, but again, I don't love a triple threat match for the women's, but that story kept evolving as the weeks went by. The storytelling for the tag team titles, we didn't know where the original Kingdom were going to be at when these tapings, I think, were happening. But the story told happened to work out in their favor, that it was going to be Hakari winning the number one contendership, and the whole United States, the national championship, how it built up to Dak Draper and Scion. The storytelling was there. So I really do appreciate that, in that these matches weren't just thrown together. Most of these matches had to be formulated and kind of built up, which I appreciate. Hey, Jaden, welcome back.
Thank you. I had a few business dealings I had to deal with real quick that took my attention away, but now I'm back to be funny, hopefully.
We were talking about Flip Gordon. You missed it because he was wrestling Colby Corino. When you get a chance, I know that you don't watch it live on Tuesdays, but I would really encourage you to check out Flip Gordon versus Colby Corino from this episode when it airs tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Pacific. You should definitely check that match out, because I think it was one of the standout matches in their junior heavyweight division that they've had this year.
Has Rhett been on that recently?
Yeah, and he's had a lot of great matches too, don't get me wrong, but this is we saw Flip Gordon kind of do what Flip Gordon does, and I feel like Colby rose to the occasion. I really, as a wrestler, I think very highly of Flip Gordon, and as we were talking about while you were gone, I think he's a guy that the NWA should try to lock up, because what he does in the ring is so unique and special, and that he could be a high-risk maneuver style wrestler while also telling a good story. And he doesn't have to do specifically high-risk maneuvers. It just seems that that's where he's excelling at.
Cool.
And Poyo says, I'm too close to the product to discuss any of these folks. I like them all. Yeah, and that's kind of the downside of being having you on here, Poyo. I mean, we appreciate you here all the time. Don't get me wrong, but I doubt you'll have anything negative to say from what I hear about the locker room, it's a great locker room. It's a great environment. So, like,
I heard that.
And you're not going to go out there and shit on your fellow coworkers. I mean, that would be bad business for yourself. But this match, I think, was really a strong match for the NWA. And I really hope they do more opens like this, because that really got me fired up for the rest of the show. With that being said, we get to the next segment, which is Kyle Davis with Chris Silvio and Jack Stain, trademark. And Silvio, this is where we land in sports entertainment. So, like, for you guys who don't enjoy that style of wrestling, you're not going to enjoy this segment. Silvio proclaims that Jax is pleading the fifth on all matters regarding this demonstration, and says that Mayweather's lady has been hitting him up through text message, and they proceed to air the text messages behind them on the television screen behind Kyle Davis, which this is so weird for the NWA. I'm not used to this kind of storyline. And the entire time, Jack Stain doesn't say a word. This is all Chris Silvio talking. It basically proceeds to inundate that Miss Mayweather is unhappy in her marriage and wanted to have relations with our pal Jack Stain, trademark. And the line of the night was when Silvio says that Mayweather's kid isn't the only one calling Jack's daddy. Hell,
Yeah, I laughed.
I popped. It was great.
I didn't pop, but I laughed.
I popped. I didn't want to. I don't want to like that segment because it's not traditionally what I find entertaining. Chris Silvio is doing a good job. I love Jack Stain. You know that. I think Jack Stain is indeed one of the best wrestlers that the NWA has. I wish he was being utilized more in that world title picture. He did just get off a nice run with the national championship. But I would like to see him be considered for that world title again soon. Go ahead, Jane.
Can somebody ask Chris Silvio? He could find out what was in the envelope when Baby Doll had pictures of Dusty Rhodes.
maybe he could sequester that. I'm not sure. DKM, what did you think of this segment?
I mean, it's not my cup of tea, but I will say that it's probably the best I've liked Chris Silvio. I mean, but the guy's gotten much better at yapping and, the gift of gab. And I like it better it makes more sense now that they're together instead of kind of the way they used to do it, where Silvio talked on his own and Dane was in the ring on his own. Now they actually come across as a team. So it's much better. And for what it was good.
And I think that it's important if they still have so much they can do with Jack Stain. I'm going to sneeze here in a second.
Bless you.
There's still so much that can be done with Jack Stain. And the thing is that even though he lost the title to Scion, he's still a legitimate threat to any belt on the program. And the fact that he's a Grand Slam champion just proves that he's versatile on that roster. So pairing him with Silvio, I like Jack Stain's promos. I thought he was really coming into his own, but I don't hate this pairing at all. And especially we joked around a few years ago when they first brought Jack Stain back that they should have brought him back with Bruce Tharp and have some, a-hole attorney representing Jack Stain. And they listened to us. They just went a different route and brought Chris Silvio in, and I think it's starting to pay off. Real quick, Poyle Lamar says the backstage overall is amazing. It's kind of hilarious because we come back every 3 months and every person immediately goes to their chosen area of the locker room. And then Poyle points out that Chris is such an accomplished wrestler and speaker. He was my favorite OVW heavyweight champion. I don't remember him as OVW heavyweight champion. I've been familiar with Chris Silvio. He was actually out here in Hollywood for a short time. I think he helped train and was in the corner of Blake Bulletproof Troop when he wrestled Jordan Clearwater on Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. That's really the first time I kind of got to see Silvio in person. And Lou Thez says, crap, what's wrong, Lou? What's wrong? And then Hitman says, guess that's good, Polio. If that's to start right where people left off, I guess that means they're comfortable. Yeah, want to be comfortable. And Hitman backs me up on Godzilla is more like Godzuki now, unfortunately. I don't believe that. I think he's still. I still think Jack Stane has some gas in the tank. He can pop a trunk, and I think that trunk can change the whole face of a match in a matter of minutes. Poyo says that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that it's the attitude that, Dane had always been kind of a monster and had that monster attraction. Now he's kind of got a more smooth, mellow charisma to him.
Yeah.
And so I certainly like the character that Jack Stane has developed into here more than I probably thought I would. I mean, if he told me beforehand, hey, this is how we're going to start booking Jax, and this is how he's going to, I probably would have gone, I don't know, man. I mean, got this big monster guy. I mean, it works well for him. He does it well.
I love the fur coat, the sleeveless fur coat vest. I think that just plays into it. And again, like at this point, if he never won another title in the NWA, he's still a Hall of Famer for the National Wrestling Alliance. He's held the tag titles with Rob Conway and defended those titles in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He won the NWA World Championship off of Hiroshi Tenzan. Those are two huge accomplishments right there. He unified briefly the national title and the North American title that's now defunct on his way to challenge Tenzan for that title. I mean, all this happened in such a short amount of time too. So he's a two-time national champion, a tag team champion, a world's heavyweight champion, and a North American champion. I mean, I think he has all the credentials to be in whatever the NWA Hall of Fame ends up being. But yeah.
Hasn't won the TV title yet.
That's true, and he hasn't won the junior heavyweight title either. So
I'd put money to see him against Homicide for the junior heavyweight championship.
Real quick, Poyo wanted you to know, Jane, that as one of Baby Doll's proteges, she knows. So, and then James H. Jackson says, "I do love that stuff from Chris Silvio. It's not normally what I like, but his stuff is decent to me." So, I mean, it's awesome that we're all coming here and saying, "Hey, this isn't typically what I like, but this is something the NWA is doing well." And that again, Poyo, if they listen to any of the constructive criticism that you hear, I mean, this is something we like. We want more of this. So I don't know
what it sounds like. Again, I didn't see it, so I can't give an honest opinion. It sounds like something that wasn't good, but Silvio, and Jack Stane did it so well that they made it their own.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
How very dare you? Poyo just popped DKM. He'll be back. How very dare you? Poyo, you're the best. James Bell says the movie Godzilla was released in Japan today in 1954. How fitting. We're talking about Godzilla.
Vanilla Godzilla?
Yeah. Let me see. And then yeah. So there you go. Godzilla was released in Japan today in 1954.
Technically not true.
Oh.
It was Gojira.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Gojira. And then Dave Scooby says, Mr. Genocide is doing well as Jack's manager. We're all, I think that's cool. That's cool that we're all looking at this and saying, hey, we enjoy this. And it's not typically our cup of tea, but we're enjoying it. Okay, Poyo says she's going to tell us something that from her own experience in NWA, and I think it applies to Silvio and Jax. Okay, we're on bated breath, Poyo. Go ahead.
I think you could talk while we're waiting.
Okay,
yeah.
I think she tried to kill me.
She almost did.
It's not good to make a man who's coughing like I am with my asthma laugh like that.
If it wasn't COVID, it was Poyo. All right, well, we'll wait for what Poyo is going to say next, but I'll run to the... Oh, there it is. Sometimes creative throws acts together thinking that they'll either sink or swim, and sometimes they sink. Other times those involved are true pros and make it work because they're just that good. Yeah, exactly. And I think, Poyo, you were an example of this too. I don't know initially who decided to put Poyo with Thrillbilly, and on paper it sounds crazy, but it works. And again, it's the testament to the two of you who are able to put this together, and it's funny and we laugh. And you know, we go back to the Fixers with Colby Carino. Again, it seemed kind of a weird trio at first, and then it worked really well, so well that the Fixers kind of got so much over they don't even need Colby at this point. So Luther says,
well, and they went a different direction too.
Yeah. Well, and then the problem with the Fixers too, and if you guys listen to the other Alliance guys, something that they kept bringing up is that those guys are kind of tired of the Fixers, and I'm kind of over the shtick as well. I want to see them be more like they were when they first formed as a tag team, and I think you could still salvage them, but I think the over the top goofiness kind of hurts.
And this is, you know, a constructive criticism of some of the things that I've seen in the NWA, and we've talked about it with Nick Aldis. Sometimes when they find something that gets over, or that they think should be over, Nick Aldis, you know, during his title run and in between and after and everything like that,
they beat it to death. Just say it.
Yes, they eat too much of a good thing. You kind of, and it's like the Fixers coming out and being a little bit goofy, all of the bushwhackers. Come out, be goofy on your way to the ring, kill your opponents in the ring, go out, have the occasional interview. They've done this a little bit, but I would define it more with Bradley as the straight man, Wrecking Ball as the comic, and you know, let Bradley go out there and do the serious promo, and then let Wrecking Ball, you know, kind of do the goofy part. And we don't review USA, but I did watch it, and I did watch the segment with Billy trying to change out the tag team belts.
Yeah, that was kind of rough.
With just Wrecking Ball, which was a little bit weird that it was just with one of them. I got the humor, but it was too long.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the end, I was just saying, either take the belt or walk away. I don't care what you do anymore.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, they do have a tendency to kind of beat things. And there was another example I was going to think of, which, question mark was the original question mark. I think was kind of that. I think he kind of got over with the crazy hardcore crowd, and you know, they were trying to probably do too much with him.
Yeah.
And even to a lesser extent, maybe Thunder Rosa.
Really?
You know, I like Thunder Rosa, and I was glad, but she was in a place similar to Camille in that you really weren't thinking she was ever going to lose the title.
Yeah, I get that.
And, you know, it's worked. That idea works better with Camille, who's kind of been this big, powerful thing. Thunder Rosa was a small, stiff working badass.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do think, but she was on a lot. You know, you notice you don't see Camille every episode.
This is true.
You know, and so she's very popular, but she's not overexposed. And so sometimes they overexpose the things that are working.
Yeah.
They've done well with Camille. They should probably expose Sion a little bit more, because Lord knows I've become a fan of his just for his hustling on the independent scene.
Everybody's hustling.
I knew you were going to do that, but that's okay. I like that song. So again, it's finding balance.
Well, Poyo just nipped it in the bud right there. She said, so you're saying the key is to keep people wanting more. Yeah.
I've heard that saying before used in the world of entertainment, and I would tend to agree with it. Yes.
I think it's always, leave while they're still wanting more, instead of them asking you to leave, something like that. I know I'm butchering it. I'm like Tom Pritchard over here butchering quotes, but yeah, I mean, I do hear people in the chats. We hear people on Twitter. Yeah, they do want to see more Silas and Pollo, and I think that's a good thing. I think if they were tired of you, then that would be bad. So, you always want to leave them wanting more, of course.
Well, again, Jim Cornette says it a lot, but a lot of people out in the wrestling world will say this. It's something that's locked from the territory days. I can't miss you if you don't go away.
This is true.
And so when, I know story very similar to what Pollo's talking about here. Almost everybody I know loves chocolate, but I have one friend who absolutely cannot eat any chocolate. And it was because when she was young, she used to eat those, what was it, Mars bars?
Yeah.
And she said one day like after Halloween or something, she ate a whole bunch of them and threw them up. And yeah, she can't do chocolate anymore.
So I don't eat Raisinets anymore.
Well,
Same reason.
That's also the fact that they have raisins in them. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, we said this a lot when Nick Aldis first lost the title. They need to take him off TV. We needed to miss him. We like Nick Aldis as a wrestler. We liked some of the promos he gave. They're a little long or whatever.
Great promos, but we needed time to miss him.
Right. And if they had used him like he's currently being used, which, by the way, will lead to the conversation maybe if we ever finish up on Power of, what is Nick Aldis's future with the NWA? And
yeah, you're right. If he had gone away, we would all be clamoring for him to be back right now. Even this guy, the guy, the ham sandwich eating jabroni, would say, "Hey, Aldis is the best guy on the roster. Why isn't he in the title hunt?" But that's the thing. They didn't. They pushed him so quickly once Murdoch lost the title that we didn't get a chance to. You didn't get a chance to breathe. They didn't.
In fact, he was around more than Murdoch after he lost the title.
Yeah, and he was supposed to have an injury and he was supposed to be off TV, but he was still on TV. He never went away. We never got a chance to miss him. Yeah. But
But I mean, not to beat that old dead horse.
Yeah.
But, like Pollo says, there's a reason you don't necessarily want to see everybody every week. You want to let them have like a little story.
Yes. On a TV taping, give everybody a little 2, 3, 4 week story that you can tell. And then then it doesn't have to be in a row. But then let that go. Another good example that they did when Pope was TV champion. 1 week they would set up a challenger for him. The next week he'd defend the title, or in 2 weeks he'd defend the title against, whoever won. And so simple, keep it simple, nice little story. You had something that you could always count on. You had a main event that you always knew that was kind of what it was going to be. Yeah.
TV title thing and everything. So if you find the good balance, I'm not over the fixers yet. Sorry to the other Alliance guys. Yeah, I mean, they don't need to do any more fixers power surges for 3 or 4 months, 5, 6 months, or whatever. But I don't have any problem with them keeping the U.S. tag titles for a while. I don't have any problem with them being seen every 2 to 3 weeks on USA, or every 2 to 3 weeks on Power, or wherever you want to put them. And defending the title against some of the lower teams, and during the shows, and then hit something on a pay-per-view where they defend against a top team, or challenge for the world titles or something. But
and then
don't burn me out.
You're right, and props to, again, more props to Pollo and Silas, because he said I really didn't want to like Silas at first, but I can't help myself. That really means something to a crusty old fart like me.
Well, and I would agree. I mean, probably the same thing. I wasn't thrilled at first, but it got over with.
And I know how very dare me, but I was so unfamiliar with who Pollo Del Mar was when she showed up at Empowered. I was fine with it, but then when she came back to the NWA for second round, I was like, well, what are you going to do with her? And then putting her with Silas, I didn't get it at first, so I was like, well, this seems unusual. All right, let's roll with it. But it's been very fun, and it's been a good pairing. So I've come to appreciate it and respect it. But at first I was like, what is this? And the same thing, I wasn't a big fan of Silas either, but it did grow on me because of, again, the work that Silas put in the ring, the work that Pollo did on the outside of the ring, the shenanigans that were involved. Like, I think I even said it, like that first match that he lost because they were sharing the chew, that was a little too much for me. Like, I kind of got a little nauseous because I'm not a tobacco chewer, but at the same time, like, that pairing has worked, and it's been a lot of fun ever since. And the fans are kind of getting in. Well, they're definitely getting into it. I don't want to say kind of, they are getting into it. And there's some people there's some blowback because of it, but that's kind of a good thing because it brings more attention to it.
When talented people are given the opportunity to display their talent, like Pollo says, it's sink or swim.
Yeah.
When talented people are given a chance to go out and display their talent to the audience, it gets over. I mean, look, I'll look at the first match that the two of them were together, and if you go back and listen to my review, I was not a happy camper.
Yeah. But
watching them over the time, watching Silas in the ring, especially his match with Davey Richards, again, it's hard to look bad against Davey Richards, but you still got to pull your part.
Yeah.
And, he certainly did. And you sat there and got, man, this is a guy who could be a, contender for the national title, TV title,
for sure.
Maybe eventually a challenger to the world title. I don't think I see him as a world champion at this time, but that doesn't mean it wouldn't change over the years.
Of course not.
And so it's just, talented people, when given the chance, can certainly, pull victory from the jaws of defeat. Bad booking can pull defeat from the jaws of victory. So,
yeah. All right. I want to get to the next segment, but I do want to post this real quick. That Pollo said, listen, we are pro wrestlers. We know not everyone is going to be a fan, and that's okay. If you object because we don't appeal to you as performers, well, 95% of the objections were because of what and who I am, or who and what I am, excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think that was anything that bothered me. I just didn't like the Chaw segment. But other than that, I think for the most part, this audience has been on board. We enjoy the interaction. It's been fun. That's the thing about wrestling for me. It's got to be fun. And if it's not fun, then I feel like, what am I doing? So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I have to say about that. But I want to get to the next segment because otherwise we'll be here all night. Next up, we get
not us.
Yeah. Next up, we get May in the back with Tyrus, and this was awesome because.
What?
First of all, wait. Okay.
Can I hold on? I think I heard something wrong. Repeat that.
Let me say it again. This was a good segment for Tyrus because you didn't have Black G's out there. You didn't have Austin Idol out there. You didn't have anybody from Idolmania Sports Management. It was just Tyrus. Now, I did not like the fact that he was holding the TV title. But again, we talk about continuity issues and the way they film it. He shouldn't be holding the TV title if they've already had a match to crown a new TV champion. So that kind of irked me. But you had a very serious Tyrus. And there's no doubt about it. Tyrus can cut a promo. He's got the gift of gab for sure. he announced that next week him and Trevor Murdoch will be teaming together to take on the Pope and a mystery opponent. And they didn't say who that opponent was, but I kind of get the feeling it might be Matt Cardona. And it just was a really good promo where he put over Cardona, he put over Trevor Murdoch, and he put himself over. He's saying, look, I'm not even living in my house anymore. I moved out because I can't get over what happened. I can't get over losing to Trevor Murdoch, and I know that I could beat him. So it was just a very impassioned promo. There was no silliness. It was all seriousness. And to me, that's one of the best things that I've seen out of Tyrus since he joined the NWA. What do you have to say, DK?
I enjoyed the segment because he can talk, and they're back to using Mae Valentine the way she should be used.
Right.
Which, this is it. If you want to know how she should be used, this segment was a good example of it. Wasn't that long ago she was fawning over Tyrus.
Yeah.
Things that we didn't fully understand. That it never been to explain to us why. All of a sudden she was this huge Tyrus fan. It seems obvious to me that there's a move to make Tyrus a face. Now, whether it's all a swerve or not, who knows? But, there seems to at least be some type of move in that direction. And, it can work. Again, I'd probably rather see Tyrus retire and take up the announce table. He's very good at the announce table.
Very good at the buffet table, too.
Willie's somewhere going, damn it, I was about to make that joke.
Yes, well, I'm not going to argue. Look, I've poked a lot of fun at Tyrus. A lot of it's been deserving. But also deserving, you can tell he has got himself into better shape.
Yeah, Hitman just said the same thing. Tyrus is actually losing weight and working out, best he's ever looked in his life. Still looks like King Hippo from Punch Out.
Maybe, but he still, I would say he looks better now than he did during his later WWE run. Of course, I never saw him when he was in Impact because, that would have required me watching Impact. And, but it's obvious he's in good shape or better shape. It's obvious that he's put on some muscle. It's obvious he's lost some fat. Last time I saw him get up into the ring, he didn't look like he was wheezing. And, I'm going to give him credit. The match with Murdoch was, I said at the time, it was a hell of a lot better than it had any right to be.
This is true. And when you look at it, and I'm going to be mean here, he looked like old Andre the Giant when he was wrestling the Pope. It looked like he was having trouble walking. It looked like he was having trouble bumping. And he just didn't look like he was in good shape at all. And then we fast forward to the 74th anniversary show, put on the best match of his career as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, to what Hitman said, what you said, and what I said earlier, he's definitely put in the work. Do I want him to be world champion? No. Do I want him to continue to wrestle? Not really. I think he would be great in the announce booth, but I get that, wrestling is a sport that, it's very hard to put away once you've started. And for somebody like Tyrus, it takes a lot of pride to walk away without being told to leave. I don't know that we'll ever get that. Most wrestlers don't. Hell, Ric Flair, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, can't let go. So I don't begrudge anyone that has trouble letting go. I just I kind of wish you would.
Well, and as a fan favorite, in better shape with weight loss. Yeah, right. And mincemeat pie probably too. He could be that attraction that Andre was at one time, in the sense that he wouldn't wrestle. He doesn't wrestle that often now as it is, but where he wouldn't wrestle a lot, but every now and again he might bring him in as, the face's surprise partner.
Yeah.
An example might be if they're only if it was only EC3 and like one other person or two other people and they control your narrative lot, he would be the type of person that maybe Tom Latimer would bring in and say, well, okay, let's even up the odds.
Yeah.
You got two guys. Well, I got a Tyrus. You know?
And there's nothing wrong with that either. But yeah. Well, let's get on to more of the show. Next up, we have the number one contenders match for the NWA World Tag Team titles. And again, when we talk about seriousness, I did appreciate this match. You had the Dirty Sexy Boys against Hawk Ari. Now, I think my biggest drawback for the Dirty Sexy Boys is just felt like they weren't taking anything serious as a tag team. And I know it was over the top silly with the hip moves and Velvet Sky fawning for them from afar. But, you know, I want to see some serious wrestling. Like, that's the hallmark of the NWA, is it always was like a serious wrestling. Sure, there's always been comedy associated with it. Don't have a problem with the comedy associated with it. But there was, when the bell rang, it was serious. It was serious business. And so when I see Dango getting serious in the ring with Luke Hawk, and let's be honest, if he went in there joking in the ring like he normally does, I think Luke Hawk might beat that out of him, to be quite honest. But it just felt like this match had a different tone to it, and maybe it was because it was for a title contention match, the number one contenders for the tag titles. The winner of this match would go on to face La Rebellion at Hard Times 3. Also, happy belated birthday to PJ Hawks, who just turned 24. That kid is so talented, 23 years of age, 24 now. God, the whole world is that kid's oyster. But Hawk Ari forced the Dirty Sexy Boys to take this match serious, and I appreciated that. During the course of the match, I noticed that the DSBs showed a lot more teamwork continuity. They were doing a lot more tag moves than I think I've ever seen. Specifically, the Irish Whip from Jay the God, from PJ right to the boots of Dirty Dango. That was like very much old school type wrestling. Reminded me of something that you might have seen like the Midnight Express do, or something like that. I really enjoyed the match and the tone of the match. I think my camera just died out. Yep. But all in all, the match was pretty back and forth with, oddly enough, PJ was taking the brunt of the punishment. And instead of getting that hot tag to get back in, he actually he finished the match. And it went in a series of pinfalls between Dango and PJ. He just shot a half like a high school wrestling match and got that 1, 2, 3. Really caught me off guard, but I thought it was a great way to have that match end. Shocked the crowd, shocked everyone. Dango looked surprised. JTG looked surprised. Hell, Luke was throwing a party in the ring. I love this match. DK, what did you think?
I think Baden's doing some heavy breathing. Honestly, this is probably the best I've seen Dango look in who knows.
Yeah, for sure. I
mean, I really don't know the last time he actually looked like a wrestler in the ring. And in, this match, JTG has always been a more serious wrestler than Dango. He just was taking the let's get weird thing a little too far occasionally, but they put on a wrestling match, and I love the end. Absolutely loved it. I might be the only person on the planet besides you, since you said you liked it.
Yeah,
but, I mean, that's kind of what you'd want to see, or that's kind of what you expect in a sports event.
Yeah.
Guys going in, taking their holds, taking their pin attempts, and then, taking their shot, getting the guy over and getting his shoulders down. 1, 2, 3. That's your goal. That's what wrestling is supposed to be. Why I don't like sports entertainment is because, they're there playing to the crowd, not going to get pinned, not going for a pinfall.
Hey, Jaden, I want to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, DK.
I was going to say, even in boxing or MMA, when they play to the crowd, they don't, they still, their goal is still to, they don't not take the shot.
Right.
They don't stop and go, oh, look, I got my my guy down, I'm going to run around the octagon or the ring and, and yell at the crowd and everything like that. I'm not going to go finish them off. Well, hell no. You go in for the kill. And in this case, it wasn't an injury thing, but it was like, my goal is to get your shoulders on the mat for 3 seconds, and we're going to keep, trading our moves or doing our thing until that happens. And out of nowhere, it happened. 1, 2, 3. We had a winner. It was beautiful.
Now, Jaden, again, I know you're a big fan of tag team wrestling, and with the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, you have Vinny the Fixer and Patch, and they both tend to do a lot of the comedy before the match, but inside the ring, it's not really like comedy style, right?
Patch doesn't do any comedy outside. No, I'm just kidding on that one. Actually, Vinny's the one that's as serious as a heart attack. But Patch is, when he's in the ring, he's a T-Rex. When he's outside the ring, he's the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Vine.
That works.
So inside the ring, he chopped this one guy so hard in his chest he bruised his back.
Oh, jeez.
So you can imagine what it's like when I call him a T-Rex. You understand exactly what I'm saying.
No, T-Rex have itty bitty arms, so
yeah, I know. But if you imagine, we'll take the Indominus Rex then.
That'll work.
He's the Indominus Rex meets the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant. But yeah, Patch is inside the ring. He's just a monster. Outside the ring, he's special.
So then tell me this, like, as someone who helps to book the wrestling, do you feel like the comedy like that, when you can keep it limited, is that a good thing, bad thing? I mean, what's your opinion on it?
Here's the thing with Patch. Patch isn't trying to be funny. Patch is just being Patch. He's nuts. If you ever met him, there's a funny farm in a straitjacket with his name on it, and he'd probably dance his way there. But that's just Patch. He's not trying to be funny. He's not trying to be a gimmick. He's just naturally entertaining, and that comes through. It's when you're trying to run up spots that are funny or come up with ideas that are funny, that's where it takes away from, I think, from the wrestling.
Okay.
Jim Cornette could be incredibly funny. Jimmy Valiant was entertaining in his own way. Dusty Rhodes can be incredibly funny and incredibly entertaining and do some unusual histrionics inside that squared circle. But they never took away from the wrestling part, and I think that's the important issue right there, is wrestling was the most important. And I love seeing a half Nelson. Wish it would have been a 3/4. That would have been cool. Or just got a cradle. When's the last time you've seen anybody pin with a cradle?
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. And again, this is another match I hope you will go check out on Friday when it gets released, because it was the best match that JTG and Dirty Dango have had since joining the NWA. They took it serious, good wrestling, good tag team continuity, and that upset. I don't want to call it an upset, but a shocking way that PJ won the match. Again, just shooting the half. And you're right. None of us are used to seeing that. There's always that big finish to get to that point. The big power move or the tag team move. No, he just shot the half and got in real good. He's a high school collegiate style wrestler, so he has that background, and he just got in good. And that was it. And it was like, I don't feel like that hurt Dango and JTG. If anything, it just shows like, hey, any given Sunday, any tag team can win. So, but yeah, we'll go to the next segment. But that was a good match, and like I said, I was very disappointed by last week's Power Surge, and I know it was. I know it was a Velvet After Dark. I know they're just stretching out the material, but this wrestling-wise, promo-wise, everything was so much better this week, and I was very happy with that. Next up, we have Kyle Davis at the Control Center. Normally, he's hyping up the pay-per-view. Looks like we have some audio issues. Then the video cuts out, and we've got the Sinister Minister, who announces that there will be a voodoo casket match with Natalia Markova. Maxine Paler will be taking on Natalia Markova in a voodoo casket match. Now, I don't exactly understand why this is a matchup that's happening, but I know that there
It's
has
in
been
Louisiana.
Sure, yes, but there hasn't been a whole lot of build for it. But again, Natalia Markova has been one of the bright spots in the women's division. Maxie Impaler has been pretty good in terms of just being dominant. And this might be a run for Max that kicks off her chase for the 75th anniversary show and challenging for the title. DK, what did you think of this segment?
Didn't like it. I just don't like. That's a little too sports entertainment for me.
Sure.
I mean, I didn't care about the match announcement. Sure, whatever. And if he had thrown to Sinister Minister or said, "We got this tape from Sinister Minister,"
right, that might have been a little bit more entertaining for you.
Well, would have made sense to me, not just this. Oh, look! Somehow I've managed to cut out this on this tape show. I have managed to.
That's a fair point.
I've managed to cut out this live broadcast for my own live broadcast.
That's a fair point.
Come on, guys. But we can keep it simple.
It's not rocket science, man.
It's not rocket science. Keep it simple.
Next up, okay. Now, Poyo, I know these are your coworkers. If you want to leave now, that's fine. But this is where the show took a shit. An absolute giant stinky shit. And we've talked about it on the show. I don't like that they're using the Mongrovian gimmick at all. I don't think there should be a question mark. I don't think there should be a question mark 2. I don't think there should be a question mark 3. This is all very offensive to me. And especially when we're talking about a real person who passed away, that was basically the person that created the gimmick. It's very distasteful to me and uninteresting.
On good terms. I mean, I think that's the thing that bugs me. It's one thing if it had been like, oh, they were all best friends at the time of his tragic passing. But, I mean, they were not on good terms. They did not like each other. And so that's where I have the issue. So, yeah, you may own the right to it. But, I always say the right to do something doesn't make it the right thing to do.
I think I've heard you say this before. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Right.
And this was a weird segment anyways. It was the whole showcasing Mongrovian karate. Look, I'm not going to review it. It was shit. The only thing that I will point out is after the segment, Gaggz the Gimp came out to help the question. I call him the question mock because it's not the question mark. You got the question Mac, who is Rodney Mack, and then you've got the question mock, who is the mock question mark. And for some reason, Gaggz the Gimp comes out to make the save and then gets beaten up by Sal the Pal. So it just the whole thing was dumb. And
now I have a question.
Sure.
Because sometimes when I don't like something, I'll fast forward through it.
Okay.
And so I'll acknowledge that I fast forward through a lot of this, but I did see the ending because I was trying to figure out who the third mask guy was until I found out it was Gaggz.
Yeah.
And then Sal came out and was beating up Gaggz. And so where did I miss that Gaggz is on the outs with the ministry?
As far as we know, we don't know that. It hasn't been presented to us yet. I mean, we just saw him on Saturday hanging out with the Sinister Minister and Maxie Impaler in that 2-on-1 handicap match when he was terrorizing Taryn Terrell with the tongue, which again was a very tasteless segment as far if you ask me. But again, the whole thing is like it didn't make sense anyways. He just runs out to make the save. Like he was never a baby face as far as I could tell. And now all of a sudden he's doing babyface stuff, and the reward for that is Sal beat him up for it. And
no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, it was like But it was like it was being done at the Ministers, and I was just like going, I know I will fast forward or get up and make coffee or, sometimes a 3-course meal. And, but I was very confused by that, and we'll just leave it at that. The Wet Willie, I can't say that I didn't love it, but I probably wasn't as turned off by it as Jay was.
Fair.
It was, for me, it was more of a sigh type moment. Like, oh, why?
I mean, I guess that's how it was for me too. I'm just like, what's the point of this? Like, what is this adding to the match? Max is already kicking the shit out of both these ladies. I'm gonna lose my monetization. I've been cussing a lot tonight. Max was beating the crap out of both Taryn and Natalya, like easily. I didn't get the point of Gaggz trying to get inside the mind of Taryn Terrell. Like, he didn't have to get inside the mind of Taryn Terrell. She was already defeated in some ways.
Well, I'll give Gaggz this. I will give Gaggz this. If given the opportunity, I'd probably take it with Taryn. Stick my tongue in her ear. So I'm just saying that I hold nothing against him for doing it. I understand that part.
I'm talking about the wrestler in the mask, not the. What DK means is with consent. With consent, would love to put his tongue in. Okay. Yes. If given the opportunity, if someone said, "Hey, as part of this thing, you get to stick your tongue in Taryn Terrell's ear," I'd probably go, "Okay." Yeah.
I'm more worried about with DK's tongue coming out the other side.
Oh, hey, oh,
it's not,
hey, not enough over here. All right, let's move on. Next up, we have Tag Team War. Now, I did
real
say
quick.
Go ahead.
But with DK pop her trunk.
How very dare you?
This show has just turned PG-13.
DK After Dark.
And, which one of us is JC Ice? Actually, the way DK's acting, he's definitely the JC Ice tonight.
Only with permission.
Yes, with consent.
With consent. Written consent.
Hitman says I would at least get Taryn dinner afterwards. I think that's the gentlemanly thing to do.
I would agree.
All right, let's move on real quick to the Tag Team War. Now, I saved this graphic literally from last season because I know this is going to be a common occurrence in the show, and sometimes you need a little refresher on what Team War is. Basically, the match begins with one member from each team and teammates wait ringside. Eliminations happen via pinfall, submission, or being thrown over the top rope. Once an elimination occurs, the next team member must enter the ring immediately. The team with the final participants wins. So it could be like we've seen in the past where like Odinson took out an entire team by himself. And we kind of see that again tonight. Now, let me preface by saying that I don't like this matchup. I don't like these in any matchups, but let's go ahead and talk about it. The Spectaculars versus the Cardona family. And my notes are the Tag Team Wars are stupid, and I stand by that. The beef of the Spectaculars have with the Cardona family basically just comes down to Rolando and Matt Cardona. Of course, we know famously Rolando has 2 victories against the former World's Heavyweight Championship. And when this match starts off, it starts off looking really good for Rush Freeman and Rolando and Brady Pierce, but things go south very quickly. In fact, both Brady Pierce and Rush Freeman are eliminated almost instantly from this match, making it an elimination match with Rolando being the sole survivor on his side, taking on the entire Cardona family. Which again, this is ridiculous. We're talking about Rolando Freeman, who is not a super heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight. He's not a junior heavyweight. He's not a light heavyweight.
I'm sure he's a featherweight.
Yeah, probably, right? And
Is he a silver weight?
what's that weight class?
Whatever Rolando is.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. So Rolando has to battle the entire Cardona cartel, if you will. He reverses a sunset flip when Myers has his hand on a rope that causes Fritz, the referee, to kick his hand. So he reverses it, gets the pin on Brian Myers. Very shocking victory right there. And you're thinking, okay, well, that's got to be it, right? And then VSK comes in and starts really just abusing Rolando, kind of punching him, kicking him, and then literally he's up on the top rope, like hanging him, kind of like a hangman style, like a choke out. And somehow Rolando is able to wiggle himself free and pushes VSK off the top rope. So that's your second elimination. And right now I'm dumbfounded because I don't know how this is still happening. But worse yet, you get Mike Knox, who's literally about 3 times the size of Rolando, gets in the ring and connects with his cross body that on a man his normal size would have winded him. And he basically just smothered poor Rolando. And you would think that would be the end of the match. But one thing I will say about Rolando is he's got Sean Waltman-like resiliency, and was able to kick out. And and then it comes to the point in the commentary where Dr. Tom Pritchard butchers the old adage of it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the fight and the size of the dog. And he just butchered it worse than I did. He's a professional. I'm not. Knox continues to beat on Rolando, but somehow Rolando is able to plant Knox with a DDT. Basically, he had him in that gorilla position, and somehow, some way, Rolando was able to wiggle out and turn it into a DDT. The crowd is going nuts at this point. I need to point that out because a lot of times, especially when you later in the season of these shows, the fans tend to sit on their hands for a lot of this stuff. This was a part where they really got into it, and that's kind of disappointing because I don't want the Rolando saga to continue, but it looks like I'm going to be outvoted here. So he lands that DDT. The crowd is just eating it up, and then he connects with a little big boot to the face. Only gets a 2 count. We should have had a 3 count, but then Matt Cardona starts getting involved with the match. You thought Rolando had the victory right there. Cardona gets the referee distracted, so Fritz and Cardona are engaged in conversation. Out comes Chelsea Green, who hits an unprettier on Rolando. Again, you think that's it. It's all done. And Knox can't get but a 2 count. And at this point, I'm starting to kind of root for Rolando, but I hate the fact that I'm rooting for Rolando because I don't like the gimmick and I don't like the wrestler. But here I am cheering him on because this is starting to get kind of interesting. And Rolando is still very much in this fight. Knox starts beating on him a bit more, but after a flying head scissors from Rolando, he eliminates Mike Knox, being the sole survivor of Team War, and the spectators win. And I want to read my quote that I gave DKM because he asked me, well, what did you think about this match? And I said, okay, I mean, it was dumb, but it was fun. Like, I don't want to like Rolando, but at least he's winning with dumb fuckery because there's no logical reason why that guy should have won this match. But here he is, your Team War champion in this match, and I just don't know what's going on. DK?
Well, like you, I don't know what's going on. Well, let me tell you the problem I had with this match. There was only one thing that didn't happen as I thought it would.
Okay.
And that was I did not account for Chelsea Green's interference.
Okay.
Now, I do want to talk a little bit about that segment in what I don't like about matches like this, but what you do as a heel, even in matches like this.
You said doo-doo.
Doo-doo. One thing is the match is pinfall, submission, or over the top rope. So what's not included in that? Boy, it's
disqualification.
Disqualification.
Right.
So at any point after it was just Rolando, Cardona could have gotten in the ring and helped beat the crap out of him, whatever.
Yeah.
All right. So it doesn't necessarily make sense that, you don't take out a pair of brass knucks and beat them silly or something. So, but this is one of those things that you do even when matches are no disqualification. They kept the ref distracted when
They didn't have to.
But it's good because that's what gets the fans.
Yeah.
And again, old timers will tell you that in no disqualification matches, the heel still cheated behind the ref's back, even though they didn't have to.
Yeah.
You still cheated behind, because that's what aggravated the fans. And remember, old time wrestling was all about getting the fans in the arena to hate you.
Yeah.
A lot of people misunderstand. Long time ago, or not that long ago, a couple of years ago, Undertaker did his famous interview where he talks about being in the dressing room, guys with knives and, guns or whatever, and everything like that. And a lot of people misunderstood the meaning behind it. They thought it was like because they were threatening each other or whatever. No, guys carried knives and guns and stuff like that with them because the fans wanted to kill them legitimately.
Yeah.
They carry that stuff for protection to get out of the arena. Jim Cornette tells a story about one time he had to be in a straitjacket in some small Louisiana town as part of a thing, and in a chair, and they go, he was scared to death because he couldn't defend himself against the fans. And so, we all know his reputation now with Grizzly Smith, and not going to get into that. But he talked about how Grizzly Smith, who was the assistant booker and the agent that was out on the road with him, and Jim was telling him, he goes, I'm worried about it. He goes, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. He goes, so Grizzly Smith came out, sat behind Jim, and just kept his hands on his shoulders.
Yeah.
And because that kept the fans satisfied that Cornette wasn't going to interfere, and no one was going to take a pot shot at him while Grizzly Smith had a hold of him. And so, there was some good ring psychology in that thing. Just so predictable, absolutely predictable based on what they've been doing. I knew it was going to be one of those things where that because of the way they're booking him at the moment, that he was going to find a way to win.
Yeah.
And kind of through their own stupidity too sometimes.
Well, and that's the thing too. Like the Cardona family is very they're not the smartest bunch, right? And
certainly not portrayed as the smartest.
Especially not in this match. And look, I get the reason why you put Rolando in that moment, and again, it's a special attraction. I think it was Hitman that says, as much as he likes Rolando on TV, it has to stop with him beating the Cardona like this. Rolando isn't the NWA version of what AEW had with Marco Stunt. He should be more like Spike Dudley. And I mean, even that would be fun too, right? I kind of think might be the NWA version of the Microman that MLW uses. And not that he's that much of a little person, but I just think him getting these victories,
he's closer to them.
Yeah, him getting these victories, it's going to have to lead to something. And I'm all right with him being in the junior heavyweight division, where he'd still be the smallest guy in the junior heavyweight division. But I really don't want to see him challenge for the world title. And I'm tired of seeing him get victories over guys like Matt Cardona. Like, I feel like
he's not even the biggest guy on the planet. But why is he? Not that I rave about Mike Knox, but I mean, Mike Knox should have power slammed him and pinned him.
Yeah. Well, let's jump.
Again, this goes back to what we were talking about in the tag team match.
Yeah.
What's the goal? The goal is to pin him.
Right.
To get a victory and not do something stupid. And I understand that there's supposed to be a little bit of arrogance on the heel part, but not when you keep seeing how he keeps winning.
Right.
And especially after that, it's like he's just beat 2 guys of yours. Pin him. Then you can beat him up after the match.
Agreed.
But what do I know?
Well, I mean, look, I trust your opinion. I like what you have to say, and I agree with a lot of it sometimes. Not all the time, but some of the times. And now is one of the times I agree with it. Look, I had fun with this match. I will admit to that. I did enjoy it, but I don't want more of it. This isn't my invitation to give me more Rolando. This is me saying, okay, you got me this time, but I don't want more.
I can't even say I enjoyed it.
That's fair. That leads us to the main event. And it's kind of funny to me that they're already crowning a number 1 contender when they don't actually have a champion yet. And that kind of, I mean, if this is any indication, I think we know who's going to win the TV title now. But this is our triple threat match for a number 1 contendership for the TV title that perhaps maybe we'll see on the night 2 of the premier live event, the Power Trip event. We've got Judas versus Gustavo versus Strong Boy Mims. We haven't seen Mims in a while. We haven't seen Judas in the ring in a while, and we've only seen Gustavo in his TV title, or excuse me, his junior heavyweight matches. So I wasn't sure what to expect. Really, neither one of these guys should really be a number 1 contender for the TV title. None of them have the wins and losses to support it. If any of them does belong, it would be Mims, but the other 2 really haven't had much success in the NWA to warrant being in a TV title number 1 contenders match, which I know sounds silly, but like these things are important to me. And like, again, you know, I know we had the Cardonas earlier wrestling in that match, but Brian Myers is a guy that has a couple of victories in the NWA. Maybe he would have been somebody better suited for this match. You know, you still got the Pope. Jesus, they're not doing anything with the Pope. Hell, put him in this match. I'd rather have seen that. But nevertheless, the match follows suits with most triple threat matches that the NWA does. The aggressor is able to immobilize one of his opponents while attacking the other. I was very impressed by how aggressive Gustavo got in this match. And even though his kicks were ineffective against Judas, he spent a lot of time just throwing left kick, right kick all over Judas's legs, trying to slow down the behemoth, but with not very much luck. I'm not really sure, again, why these guys were considered for this match, but you know, I have an idea that I'll say when we get to the end of the match. Mims probably has the best win-loss record in the NWA, but again, there were better options. We haven't seen anything impressive by any of them as of late, but in the ring, Judas gets put over really strongly by Dr. Tom Pritchard, and what he says is true. I've followed Judas's career since he was in Anarchy, and this is probably the most in shape he's ever looked. He looks a lot better than he did back when he was in Anarchy like 10 years ago. Obviously, he's not wearing the same lifts that he used to, but he's still a big guy. And he's kind of the dominant force in this match. Everyone gets a moment to shine, which is pretty prevalent of triple threat matches in the NWA. But the end of it is where Mims is able to hit the big, strong slam on Gustavo for the 1-2-3, thus becoming the number 1 contender for the World Television Championship that will be decided at Hard Times 3 between Jordan Clearwater and AJ Kazana. Now, here's DK, tell me what your thoughts were about this match, and then I'll say what I wanted to say.
It was kind of a silly little match, but okay, here's my problem. Here's why I can't get into this match. What happened last time they had a 3-way for a number 1 contendership?
Threw it out the window.
Right. I mean, the Taya won. A few weeks later, they go, well, what's her name didn't really lose. Kylan didn't. didn't really lose, so we're going to give her a chance again. So then she wins, and then, of course, the other person in it gets in through malfeasance, but she at least had to win a match to even do that.
Yeah.
Last time we saw Judea, Silas whooped that ass.
Yeah.
That's true. So why wasn't Silas in this? So, and so, I mean, we already have this thing. When we saw a number one contender crown for the world title, we saw Billy just throw it out the window. But Billy joked about it. Billy joked about it by saying that he was throwing out Tyrus and
putting Rolando
in, and whoever it was that May he was talking to?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you're joking. It's like, yeah, I'm joking. I was like, sadly, none of us knew for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't a slam dunk. It wasn't like, oh, okay, that's obvious.
I mean, none of us. I mean, I was really going, oh shit, I ain't going if this is. But anyway, it's like, sorry, Jay, I'll pay you for the ticket. But
I can't be mad at that either.
I ain't going if it's Rwanda, Jay. But anyhow. Yeah, I mean, so it's hard to get into it when they now have a history of stripping number one contenders of their number one contendership, making them put on the line against the person who didn't do it with, you know, like they did in the women's three-way. So, I mean, the match is as good as it could be for the people that were involved. I was glad Mims won.
Same.
Because I feel like Mims should be in the TV title picture. That's kind of where I have him. Gustavo obviously should be wrestling at the junior heavyweight thing. I mean, Billy likes belts. Let's get a U.S. junior heavyweight championship. And then rename the national title to the U.S. heavyweight title. And then have some consistency across there.
You're asking for too much, my friend.
I know. But, I mean, you know, well, seriously, they have enough junior heavyweights. They have more junior heavyweights than they do tag teams. Might as well put in a U.S. junior heavyweight champion.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, by the way.
And, I mean, other than me generally being against them adding more belts. But
they don't have enough.
Well, exactly, because not everyone has one.
I'm still waiting for the what was it? The Mid-South Italian Junior Heavyweight Championship?
Missouri, I think.
Missouri.
Right. And so, anyway.
Miss you, Dave Lagana.
You know, sometimes. And so, anyway, my whole thing. And then Jedias, they've misused ever since they had James Storm kick his ass. And, of course, they've kept Jedias around, but James Storm has openly stated he didn't want to be signed anywhere. And so it's just like, man.
You know, and Jedias could have really used that rub beating James Storm. And then he had that minor feud with Chris Adonis for a minute. Like, they could have done so much to make him.
Literally a minute.
Yeah, they could have made him so much more meaningful by giving him a few key victories, but instead they went back to the old well. And as much as I like James Storm, if he's not going to be around, use his celebrity to put over Judais. And as much as I like Chris Adonis, and I really like Chris Adonis, especially in the NWA and especially in a babyface role. Man, if Judais had a victory over James Storm and Chris Adonis, that's like two of your bigger national champions in the last few years. That would give him some swanky vibes. That puts him on a higher echelon on the roster. Instead, he did the job to both those guys and really hasn't bounced back from that. And now he's in a triple threat match for the TV title, and he can't even win that one. It just really kind of soiled whatever you could have had done with him. And at this point, you might as well break him off of the Sinister Ministers group and let him go babyface or something, because he's kind of damaged goods at this point. He needs something to shake him up.
And I hate to say it like this, but if he wasn't going to win, then he should have taken the pinfall from Mims, because then that would have helped Mims.
Yeah.
And Mims beat Gustavo, and let's face it, that's not necessarily the most impressive feat.
Yeah.
And
the first Italian, Missouri junior heavyweight champion.
Well, yes, but that's not the way Dave did it. And so back to the match. It was what it was, and running long. So, Jay, what were your thoughts?
So again, I look. You're right. The match was what it was. I probably would not have made this the main event. I think I would have the tag team match made more sense as the main event for this show.
Oh, by the way, to answer a question from last week, now I have a match I'm actually looking forward to on the pay-per-view.
Which one?
The World Tag Team titles.
Okay, yeah, I think that's going to be good too. But as we were saying, what I was saying is that the fact that Mims won this match now makes me almost 100% certain that AJ Kazana is going to win the television title at the pay-per-view, because Mims doesn't really have much history with Jordan Clearwater. In fact, I think they might have even teamed once in the past. But Mims does have history with Kazana. In fact, Kazana and Mims have exchanged many matches. The 74th anniversary show, Mims got the victory over Kazana. The following week on Power, it went to a time limit draw. Excuse me, I think that was Crockett Cup, not the 74th, but the Crockett Cup.
Yes.
They've had a series of matches. They have some familiarity, and I think maybe Mims does end up winning that title down the road from Kazana, but I think there's going to be a lot of chemistry between those two, as opposed to somebody like Jordan Clearwater, who really doesn't have that chemistry with Kazana, and doesn't have the feud with Mims either. I could be wrong, but my speculation, based on Mims winning this number one contenders match, is that Kazana's winning the title at the pay-per-view.
Well, and we kind of said who should win the title would depend on who they wanted to challenge for it.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested in Mims Kazana probably more than Mims Clearwater. I mean, on a personal level, I put the title in Clearwater.
Same.
But
Same.
I mean, just if you're going to say, hey, this is something we're going to run with, yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with any of those three holding the title.
Yeah. And then Poyle brings up a good point too. Unless Mims is being fed in as a first little feud to get the TV tapings. And yes, I mean that's true too. And that's the thing. We're not sitting there in the meetings, and Poyle, I don't even know if you're privy to that information, but obviously things could change, especially in the NWA. We've seen that pretty obvious over the last couple of years. Poyle says, I'm not privy to any information. Fair enough. Neither am I. And this is just my speculative, as being a fan of the NWA for as long as I have been, and watching how Billy has booked his shows in the past. It's just where I'm coming from. It's a hunch, nothing more. And then Poyo says, but my thought is that perhaps someone is a placeholder until the next set of tapings. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen between now and the end of the year. I've heard that there might be some more TV tapings in December. Again, I don't know. I'm unaware of this. It would be smart if there were, because then you could kick off the season in January with new content, as opposed to doing reruns or power surges or whatever. But we'll just have to wait and see. Jaden, I know you've been quiet for a bit. We're starting to head towards the end of the show. From some of the matches that we've talked about, what do you think? Are you going to watch the show on Friday?
I might watch a little bit just to see some of you guys were talking about. There's a couple people I do like Haksari is a good tag team.
Very
So
good tag
still don't get the name, but I definitely like that family duo, father and son duo. And has there ever been a father-son world tag team champion in the NWA?
World Tag Team Champion?
I can't think of any.
If you just look at the history of the Mid-Atlantic version through current, not that I can think of.
Yeah, that's one that's basically recognized now. So I can't think of any either. That'll be a good first time. I know there's been brother tag team champions, but I don't think there's ever been brother, father, and son. So this will be a first time.
Real quick, to answer your question, Jaden, about you're not sure where that name comes from. So the last name is Hawk, but it's spelled with an X. And a large nest of a bird of prey, especially an eagle, typically built high in a tree or on a cliff, is an Ari. So that's where you get the Hawk Ari. It's like the family, it's the nest, it's the combined the brothers. I mean, not brothers, father, son. And then Poyo points out that, interestingly, a group of eagles is called an Ari, where hawks in a group are called kettle.
I wish her last names was like Raven or Crow, because then it could have been a murder.
I was just getting ready to go with that.
If it's a bunch of dodos, don't they call that like a democracy or something like that?
No, it's called a booking committee of the NWA.
Oh, hey now. All right, so that's going to do it for us. Yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. Again, I want to thank you all for joining us for this long 2.5-hour show. But we were at full strength, so we decided we'd flex our muscles a little bit. Thanks to Poyo for joining us in the chat. It's always refreshing to have someone who's actually there and involved in the product to give their take on things. And we do appreciate you being here, Poyo. And Jaden, thank you for being here. I know that the Dangerous General Wrestling Gladiators just had their most recent event lately. When's the next event? Do we have another one before the end of the year?
Well, no, it hasn't been announced yet, but I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying this, but it's going to be Saturday night, December 24th.
Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve.
Oh, Jesus.
The annual Toys for Tots Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators event will be Christmas Eve, Saturday night, December 24th. You know, maybe Santa will come a little early for all you fans. Get your tickets. It's Santa will be there in action. So yeah, and not in action. I don't think Santa will wrestle. You never know. But Santa will be there for those kids. Yeah, you could use the Iron Santa Claus.
Okay, this one's over.
He will be there for the kids, and there'll be great wrestling action. Currently signed as a rematch. You will see Yosifer L take on Kyle Payne in a rematch. They had fought to a no contest last time. Now there's going to be a one-on-one encounter between them. You will see Eric Martin defend the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators Heavyweight Championship. You're going to see Busky Eric Martin. You're going to see the World Wrestling Grand Prix Championship on the line as Chris Steeler would defend. And, of course, Patch and Vinny the Fixer, the real Fixer, the Old School Empire, will be defending the Dog Tag Team Championship. So you'll see all that. I don't know exactly what has been announced or what I know what's in the – I don't know what's in the planning for this right now. But, you know, it's Dog, so it's going to be great. And also, if you want, on the Dog YouTube page right now, they just posted the last match that you're going to see of Alpha Dog Adam Chandler taking on Ty Thomas. I know it's a little spoiler, but go watch it. It's really, really good, and I want you to enjoy how good that match is. DK, have you seen it yet?
I have, actually. I watched it earlier today.
Earlier today? What was your opinion?
You know, Dog's got the best wrestling out there on YouTube right now.
So make sure you check it out. You go to our YouTube and add us all, and we try to get the Thrive to 1,000 subscribers. If we get to 1,000, Dr. Zirconium said he would put Dave Dahl in a dunk tank.
You got to put that on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, there's 1,000 views right there. 100,000 views. But, yeah, so make sure you check out and subscribe. And then also make sure you go to alliance-wrestling.com. And make sure you check out DK's royalty site because he's a royal pain in the
derriere.
I was going to say trunk popper. Yeah.
Just real quick, let me also jump in on the plugging of the Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators YouTube page. I frequent that page quite a bit because I do enjoy the action there, and there are so many good matches from their events that you need to check out. Now they did an event that was with the K9 police in New Jersey, in Gladsboro. A lot of really good matches. You're seeing those stuff pop up. I mean,
during a hurricane, by the way.
Yeah, it was
the tail end of it.
it looked pretty rough out there. I mean, you could see, like, we've talked about Ray Jazz on this podcast a lot, and you could see him now working for United Wrestling Network. You could see him now wrestling for MLW, but you could see him cut his teeth in the world of pro wrestling right there with Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators. There's all kinds of great matches on there, and it's absolutely free. All you have to do is subscribe, and you can be notified when those matches come up, which is what I do because I enjoy watching those matches. And I hand over my heart. Even if I didn't know the people at Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators, I would tell you to watch it because the talent and the matches are good. Your intelligence will not be insulted. It's fun pro wrestling. It's fun for the whole family. If you do live in the New Jersey area or that tri-state area, get yourself out to one of the dog events because you definitely will enjoy it. You can buy the seat, but you'll only need the edge.
Make it a quint state area because Maryland's not that far, Delaware's not that far, New York's not that far,
Sure.
Pennsylvania's not that far, New Jersey isn't that far because it's in New Jersey.
It's in New Jersey.
Texas isn't that far. California isn't that far.
But, well, I mean, I know there's no matches have been announced yet, but I do plan on coming out to an event in 2023. It is, I'm waiting for Dr. Z to give me some dates because I will be there. I will be doing maybe a live podcast before the show. We'll see. But, in 2023, the Alliance guys will be in New Jersey taking in one of those dog events.
Yeah, nobody from Jersey ever uses that phrase. Only people pretend.
And no one from California calls it Cali either. So there you go.
Aren't you Jay Cali?
No, I'm Jay Cal, but that's because my last name's Kaylee and it's CAL. So, anyways, we're getting off topic here. Mr. DKM, if folks want to follow you on the socials, how could they do that?
Oh, first, stop drinking.
All right.
Second, go to @DKMFWTX. Primarily on Twitter if you want to actually hear any of my thoughts on wrestling whenever I feel like posting on Twitter.
Also, don't forget that our World's Heavyweight Champion, Trevor Murdoch, does defend the title this weekend at the World Legion Wrestling 20-year anniversary. I don't know if that match will be available on YouTube or whatever, but keep your eyes to what World League Wrestling is producing because we might get to see that match sooner than later. And again, we'll be back on Tuesday with the pre-party, followed up on Wednesday with the other Alliance guys. And the three of us chuckleheads will be here on Thursday as we walk towards the NWA Hard Times 3. Jaden, DKM and I will be there. Jaden won't be. But
that we know of.
Well, maybe he will. I think he just
I'm not coming. I'm not coming.
I think he just died at the idea of it.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again for being here. Enjoy the conversation very much. While you're at it, make sure you check out Dubby. The link is in the video description if you want some clean energy, as they are now an official sponsor of the Alliance Guys podcast. And of course, you can get cool merchandise like this T-shirt or this mug, or perhaps maybe even a fanny pack coming soon to the merch store. Make sure you check that out. Until next time, guys, you've been great. We are the Alliance, and we'll see you at the matches. Thanks for checking out the pre-party. Thanks for joining the stream. This has been a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com. We genuinely appreciate your support. Would you consider subscribing so you'll never miss a future episode? I'd also like to remind you we do a live stream every Tuesday at 5 p.m. before NWA Power. You can find us on social media at the Alliance Blog. And until next time, we are